when they don't, then the shit gets hot. Though there's C+ in their gameplay, their commentary gets an A. So boys, girls, black, white, brown, and blue, if you're kind and you're respectful too, then we would like to welcome you to Misadventureland.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Misadventureland game show. I'm Bobby, and I'm here with Justin.
Hi there.
Hi, Justin. How are you?
I am quite well, sir. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. We are here to discuss part 2 of our Game of the Year podcasts. This one is the big one, Justin. This one, we are going to be taking a big list of games, whittling it down to 10 games, and then ordering those 10 games in order, from our favorites, getting to our eventual number 1 game of the year. We do this live every other Thursday, usually around 8 p.m. Eastern time. Tonight we're going a little early. We're at 7 p.m. Eastern time over on our YouTube channel. You can find that easily at misadventure.land if you're listening on your podcast service of choice. And if you are listening on your podcast service of choice, please remember to rate and review us on that service. And if you're watching us on YouTube, remember to like the video, subscribe, and ring that bell so you get notified when our videos go up. Well, last week, Justin, we did a over 4 hour long podcast, breaking down our Game of the Year categories. This week we are only going to be talking about our top 10 Game of the Year. There is one thing that we forgot to do last week. You and I talked about it a little bit, which was the last thing we did was moment, sequence, or level of the year. And yes, we were pretty tired, and we kind of we forgot to add moments or sequences from a certain game that is a game that you and I both love very, very much, which is Inscription. We had none of the bosses, none of the moments, none of the whatevers in that thing, because by the end of that stream, we were like not even thinking about adding things. And so we had discussed possibly doing an Inscription moment of the year, but I will say we will do that at the end if we have the strength and time to do so.
I agree. I agree. Also, it gives time for people who have not played that game to go ahead and do all that and be able to maybe skip that part at the end if they choose to.
Yes, absolutely. Like I said, we are doing this live on YouTube right now. We got people in the chat. I want to say hey, everybody in the chat. If you hear us talking and reacting to comments, that's where they're coming from, is in the YouTube chat. We got a lot of friends here today, and I'm excited to break this down and excited for them to yell at us about our picks and not picks for Game of the Year. Though I don't think they will yell at us as much as people yelled at us last year during our... Oops, that's my voice. During our...
Great voice.
During our Game of the Year last year, when we had a certain game at number 5, was it? 6? Something like that.
Yeah. We made lots of people mad last year.
We made lots of people mad last year.
Ghost of Tsushima on our list, and people were extremely upset about that.
Yeah, Andy's here and he's yelling already. So, Andy and I will just talk through chat about the finale of Book of Boba Fett. I
have to start that still.
You should start it, Justin.
I already have been spoiled on so much.
I'm sure
it's like, oh, I know these people all show up eventually. It's like the one time I was like not paying attention to whatever was happening in Star Wars. It came back to bite me in the ass. But
I tried to tell you. I was like, Justin, you need to start watching it now.
Yellow Jackets is just so good. I can't stop watching that.
I mean, Yellow Jackets is fantastic. But I was like, Justin, you gotta start watching it because I knew that it was gonna happen to you, and I didn't want to say anything because I was like, I don't want to tell you why you should watch it, but you should watch it. All right, so let's go to our screen here.
I love screens.
You love screens? Let me make this a little bigger as well, so people can see.
I love mountains apparently too, since there's a mountain on the background of the screen.
There is. Here we go. I have to scroll, and I'm going to move this over here so it's not neither of our heads are covering it. So we have a big long list of of games to go over here, and we're gonna start cutting these pretty fast. If people have never been here for one of these things, we're gonna start with this long list of games. We're gonna start paring it down into like a short list, which is probably gonna be more than 10 games. And then we'll sort of go from there and debate it down to 10, and then we'll order that 10. It's always a surprise to me when we do this, which of those processes is the most contentious. I have no idea which one of those it's going to be, this time around. But we'll see.
We have not talked about, I'll say, our individual top 10 lists.
No, we have not. No, we have not.
We might surprise each other here.
Yes, we definitely might surprise. We definitely might surprise each other. And this has been an interesting year because it's been a year of a lot of great games and a lot of games that exist within my like number 5 to number 15 to 20 that could be swapped out at any moment. So it's like my top 5 is like this is my top 5, but like 5 to 10, like there's like 15 games that probably could go there. So we'll have to go there. So I'm gonna start reading out games. Read this long list for people, and then we'll start breaking stuff down, and then we'll periodically check in about what games are left on this list. Just like last week, we will try to make sure that we at least say, hey, we're going to talk about spoilers about this game when we're doing it. I will say, if you don't want to know anything about the games we're talking about, it's probably not good to listen right now. I will try to demark when that's going to happen, and I will try to put it in chapter markers like I did last week. So just so everyone knows. All right. This list is in no order at all, which you'll very much see when I start reading it out. These are all games that we played enough of to have an opinion on, not necessarily some of these are going to get cut very quickly. So we've got Outriders, Death's Door, Knockout City, Ratchet and Clank: A Rift Apart, Bowser's Fury, It Takes Two, Hitman 3, Emily is Away 3, Overboard, Psychonauts 2, The Forgotten City, Kenna, Bridge of Spirits, Curse of the Dead Gods, Returnal, Resident Evil Village, The Ascent, Inscription, Life is Strange: True Colors, Metroid Dread, Boomerang X, Halo Infinite, The Gunk. Apparently Curse of the Dead Gods is on there twice. That's going away. Wildermyth, Forza Horizon 5, Deathloop, Guardians of the Galaxy, Unsighted, Lego Builder's Journey, The Artful Escape. The Gunk is on there twice as well. Get out of here. The Artful Escape, Unpacking, Chicory, Solar Ash, Call of Duty Vanguard, Riders Republic, Cruisin' Blast, Far Cry 6, Aliens Fireteam Elite, Knockout City's on here twice. Goodbye. Boyfriend Dungeon, Splitgate, Hell Let Loose, Persona 5 Strikers, and Wordle. Are we missing anything? It came out in the year of our Lord, 2021.
I mean, I've been playing that League of Legends Ruined King game. I've played enough of to speak of, but I don't think I've played enough of it to put on this list. So it's okay.
Do you want to add it just to talk about it for a minute, or are you good not even putting on this list?
I'm good.
Okay. And he said add a category for games that suck but are better when playing with me. Some of those games are on this list, Andy. Let's see. I don't think we're missing anything. I can't think of anything while we're doing this. If anybody in the chat thinks of anything, suggestion, please
we
let
are
us
known
know.
to forget. One year we forgot our game of the year.
Yes.
And that got added in at the last minute. We were like, oh, that's right. That was game of the year this year.
No, that wasn't on our game of the year list. That was on our best of the generation list, I believe.
Yes, that was it. Yes. Question from the chat. Wordle ? From Peach. Yes, Wordle makes this list.
Wordle was a 2021 game, so it makes this list.
That Bobby and I have played a lot of, and those little boxes that you see on Twitter everywhere, Bobby and I put those in each other's text messages every morning.
Yeah, so Andy doesn't yell at us, basically. It's really the whole reason why we keep it kind of private, so Andy doesn't yell at us. All right. So, was Back for Blood on here?
I did not see Back for Blood on here.
We should at least talk about Back for Blood.
We should.
Yeah, so I'm going to add Back for Blood. Okay. Back for Blood's
was Boomerang X on this list?
Yes, Boomerang X is on there. Yes. It was. It's somewhere up a little bit. I definitely read it out.
is.
I definitely read it out though.
Yep, it's there.
All right.
It's there.
Okay. So, Justin, you might want to open this up on your phone or whatever. So that way you can look at the whole list without me having to scroll when we're doing cuts.
Yep. I got it.
Oh, okay, Cody. I mean, it's going to get cut very quickly, but we can, we played, I don't know, 6 hours of Battlefield 2042. We can talk about it. We should at least talk about it.
We could do that. We could say words about that video game.
We definitely could say words about it. I played when it was in the EA Play preview. We played like 5 or 6 hours of it. Most part we skipped it though. All right, so
I see a game we might have skipped.
What?
I'm double checking. Nope. Never mind.
Okay. Why don't you propose a cut, Justin?
I will cut. Let's cut an easy one. Let's cut Battlefield 2042 because it might be one of the worst games we played this year.
It's cut. I mean, I don't know if it's one of the worst games we played this year, but it wasn't very good. We have not played. We don't play a lot of bad games, so
we don't play a lot of bad games.
Yeah. We avoid bad games usually. So yeah, Battlefield 2042 definitely out of there. It was a big disappointment. We have this section for cuts over here. I have this like category for cuts over here. So if people are watching, that's where like the stuff that's close is gonna go, so that if we need to bring anything back, we can see it. Battlefield 2042 is never coming back. All right. Yeah, so this beginning part is nice. This is the part where we kind of pick, we love up the softballs, the easy ones, so that we can, we can kind of wade in. Let's see. Let's start down here to Persona 5 Strikers. I'm gonna say we're gonna cut it.
I'm staring at the chat at the moment. Yes, we can cut Persona 5 Strikers. It's a, it's got those characters from Persona 5, which Peach, you should play that if you're listening, obviously. But I've been trying to get her to play that game since I've known her. It's just not as good as Persona 5. It just made me want more Persona 5. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, it's not that. Great music, though. Good style. It's got style.
It better have style. It's a Persona game. All right, archiving it. Okay. So what do you want to cut, Justin?
I think we could safely cut Cruisin' Blast, which has maybe the theme song of the year.
Cruisin'!
Anyway, when you were a kid and you went to the arcade and there was Cruisin' USA, I don't know if you people in the UK had that. I don't know if they called it Cruisin' UK, like a bunch of weirdos. But it's that thing that you saw on the Switch. It's great. Mm-hmm. It's big, stupid, and dumb. You could be a unicorn. It's great, but it's not one of the 10 best games of the year.
Okay, we're cutting it. All right. In the Ubisoft section, Far Cry 6. Gonna cut that. We didn't play enough of that game to keep it on this list. And what we did play of it was not very good. So we spent about, I don't know, what do you think, 4 or 5 hours playing it?
Yeah.
And I felt like we barely did anything. Like we kept getting stopped to do story stuff like every 5 seconds. It felt like
the game needed to be in co-op 10 times crazier than it actually was.
Yeah.
And it wasn't.
Goodbye, Far Cry 6. Next. Look how easy this is. We're gonna be done in half an hour.
I think Boyfriend Dungeon is a bad video game that shouldn't be on this list.
So unreleased somewhere, there is a video of you playing Boyfriend Dungeon, Justin.
It's true.
Sitting there for months.
Forever it will remain unreleased because we don't want to have bad video games on our channel.
I never actually touched it, but it seemed like the game part of it wasn't very good.
No, it controlled real bad. It felt bad to play, which is not easy to do with video games.
All right, that's gone. Let's see. With this list, I'm gonna get rid of the gunk.
I knew you were going to the gunk.
Get rid of the gunk. I finished the gunk. I beat the gunk. And I enjoyed it just fine. That all being said, I was disappointed in it because of how good the SteamWorld games are. But it is their first 3D game. I feel like they definitely were sort of getting their legs underneath them, and there are some elements to it I think are really good. I think the main mechanic is satisfying. I just think that it is a little bit samey and never really goes a lot of places. Though I will say, I think the storytelling in it is actually pretty good. It's actually got a pretty good story and set of characters and kind of mythos behind what's going on. But I did not. It's a very forgettable game. Like until we were scrolling through this list, I was like, oh right, the gunk. Which is also a shame because this game I was very, very excited about before it came out. So
yeah, no, I mean it's just fun to say. The gunk.
It's very fun to say. The gunk is gone. What's next, Justin? What are we cutting?
I think we could get rid of Hell Let Loose.
Okay, we can definitely. We only played it once.
I mean, that one time left a mark enough for us to put it on this list in the first place.
Yes, Hell Let Loose is a very cool thing, and if it was the only game I was gonna play, I think I could grow to really love it and to be really invested in it. But it is a incredibly demanding game. If people don't know Hell Let Loose is, it is a World War II shooter, but it is incredibly tactical and realistic to the point where you are in a squad, and that squad has a leader, and then like the division has a leader, and then like the whole company has a leader. And then all the company leaders talk to one another, and there's somebody who's in charge of the entire like battlefield, and you're like requesting supplies and figuring out like tactical plans, and not like the lower underlings can't talk to the higher ups, so the higher ups figure out a plan, and they have to like disseminate the information down, figure it out. It's very realistic, but like there aren't like 8 times scopes on the guns, and it's very hard to see things, and when things get hairy, like when you're in a trench and things start to go bad, they go very bad very quickly. And that stuff was really, really fun, but I was like, if we play this, we have to play this a ton because I'm never going to get good at it unless we just like sink all our time into it. And when Andy and I think all 3 of us took our turn trying to be like the commander of the squad and talking to the other commanders, and it was maddening. Like the amount of voices going on. Andy lasted the longest. Like Andy would like disappear. Like he wouldn't be talking to us for a couple of minutes, and then he would come back and be like, I don't know. They're just all arguing about like this one point, and they're yelling at each other. I asked for something, they won't give it to us. Cool thing, but yeah, it's definitely not making the list. I'm glad it exists though. Mark said I was a spotter in a tank for like 30 minutes, and I'm still not sure if I did anything. That's how that game feels for the most part. So yes, I'm with you on that one. Let's stick in the same area. Can we jettison Aliens Fireteam Elite off this list?
Yes.
Another one of those co-op shooters. I had fun, but man, that one level was real hard.
That difficulty spike was something I was not anticipating. It went from like, I am bored 2 tiers with how easy this is to, oh shit, we can't beat this level.
Yeah, no, it was a lot. It was a lot.
What happened? You know what it was? It was the escort mission. Escort missions are always bad.
Yeah. But in that one level, it wasn't even him that was dying. It was us that was dying.
No.
I like the aesthetic of it, and I like the aliensness of it over the zombiesness of some of the other games. But yeah, it's issues. What do you want to cut next, Justin?
Let's cut.
Don't Call of Duty
Vanguard.
Okay, I was like, don't get serious yet.
I sometimes like throwing curveballs.
I know you do. That's why I said don't get serious yet. Emily is away 3.
Trust me, I'm coming for it. Call of Duty Vanguard is.
We can cut it.
It's a Call of Duty game.
Yeah,
it was a good time. It was a good time, but I'm very tired of World War II.
Yeah, it was fine. It was completely fine. All right, let's say this multiplayer arena Splitgate.
Yeah,
Splitgate can go. We talked about it a little bit last week. It's cool, but
it's cool. Yeah. Portal meets Halo, which is an awesome idea until actual Halo comes out.
It's true.
Then it's less of a good idea.
All right.
I really hope that you can't hear the kids taking a bath in the room.
I can hear it. It's fine.
It's fine. Screaming.
It's a good color. It's okay. What do you want to cut next?
Right? No, it's
Yep.
your turn.
No, I
just cut Cole.
No, I
you
just cut
Splitgate.
Splitgate.
Wow, really? We're getting rid of them like fast. Okay.
We are. It's going to start getting harder soon.
Lego Builder's Journey.
Yeah, we can cut like it's always when we're doing this, it's always tough because I'm like I like Lego Builder's Journey a lot more than some of these other games that are still here, but I'm also like I know it's not a top 10 game. It's not in my top 10, so it's not gonna make it. It's just one of those things where like mentally I'm like, oh maybe we should wait, but no, we can cut it. It was a neat game. Like it looks great. I think I think even though it's a short game, it still goes on like a little bit too long at the end. And it's, it's a sad dad game. So, sometimes I'm in the mood for that. Sometimes I don't want to deal with that. And that's not, that was one side, but it's fine. It's on Apple Arcade. It's on everything. People should play it. It's a fun game, but not gonna make top 10. Yeah, Mark, it is neat. It's never gonna win. That's all it was. It was neat.
It's just swell.
It's just swell.
I like it. I like it.
All right, my turn to cut, right?
Yep.
Let's cut Knockout City. Another one and done or two and done. I don't remember how many nights we played that game with Andy. It was fun for sure. There's something about it that's good, but it's such a crowded multiplayer world. It's very tough to like break in and take our attention away for more than a night or two. So that it just didn't go past that.
It's better than it has any right to be. A dodgeball game should not be that much fun, but it was. Mm-hmm. It was a good time.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah. Okay. What's next? What are we cutting next, Justin?
I'll cut Riders Republic.
Good. I'm glad I didn't have to put that up for
I was figuring you were going to come for that early. Look, I like Riders Republic a decent amount. The hard part with me is, again, Riders Republic racing games and games like this just occupy a space where it's just like I want to play more of them, but it's just never enough to get my full attention away from the other things that we're playing. Like this game is like, basically what if Tony Hawk, but in open world. Mm-hmm. And with,
didn't they do that at some point?
And skis. I know. I mean, Tony Hawk's Project 8 was fucking
That's
rad.
what it was. Okay.
Don't get me started on that. I mean, American Wasteland was also very good.
American Wasteland. Okay. Actually, American Wasteland was one I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I was debating trading this game in today for a bunch of stuff, and I was like, I kind of want to look at this a little bit more, but I know that I'm never going to do it, so I should just go ahead and bite the bullet now. And it's a shame because I like everything that's there. It's just really hard to get me away from these other like bigger games.
Yeah,
especially this
trade it in before it ends up on Game Pass, Justin.
I know it'll be great when it comes to Game Pass.
Okay, Riders Republic gone.
I have a Steam Deck to pay for, so I'm like looking for things like,
yeah,
I don't need this anymore.
Riders Republic. The idea of it was cool. I played it for a couple of hours. The whole like vibe of it though just did not gel with me.
Bruh. You just gotta chill out, bruh. And that's putting it lightly.
Yeah, that's putting it very lightly. It just felt like the most try hard. Like we understand what young people say and do. Like it felt like that very much so. All right, let's get Back 4 Blood off of this list.
Okay,
it doesn't belong here.
Fine.
It is not one of our top 10 games of 2021.
No, it's not. I really do. This is one where it's like I want to put my foot down and be like, I do want to go back and play more of this. I really do. So I like this is going to be one that's kicking around, especially as long as it's on Game Pass, because that's the way we played it. Mm-hmm. I will occasionally be like, we should go back and try more Back 4 Blood.
Gotta play that first level again.
I really enjoyed my time with it. We're not playing that first level again.
Gotta go back and play the whole first world again.
Never gonna do it.
Yeah, no. All right, so we started to pare this thing down. I think there's probably one or two more like that we can cut before we really start diving in and talking about stuff here. But we did a good job cutting a lot of stuff off of this list. I mean, Outriders. Let's talk about it.
You know, this whole time I've been like, I kind of want Outriders to last a while because we put a lot of time into that game. And the times that we played it, it was a lot of fun until it wasn't anymore.
Yeah. Half the time it was a lot of fun. The other half of the time it was like,
man, this just keeps going.
Yeah. The moment where we all were like, don't worry about any of the side quests. Let's just do all the story stuff. Just go. Do the story stuff. I mean, go. To be
fair, there was like 10 more hours of story stuff to do.
I know.
We were playing that game where it was just like we were completely clearing out a zone before moving on.
Yeah.
That game has so many issues. I forget. I said it at the time. I think I tweeted it. Like, this is the best bad game I've ever played. Like, it's like 2 steps away from being incredible, but also 2 steps away from falling off a cliff and never being able to recover. It occupies that weird space.
Yeah.
It's not one of the... Outriders is the game, and he makes a very good point, that made him buy a new Xbox.
Was it the thing that also made you buy a new Xbox?
No, I had the Xbox before then.
You did? No, you both bought it when we were playing Outriders.
No, I got it before. I said we should not play Outriders until I get a new Xbox. So I didn't choose to start it until then, but I wasn't like when we were playing like Andy, and Andy's like, holy shit, they're loading in 2 minutes before me. I need to buy an Xbox.
No, there was a game, because I remember there was a game we were playing, and I was like, I was dragging you, because I was like, my advanced machine is just putting yours to shame, Justin. I would say to you all the time when we were playing. So it must have been Outriders.
Maybe it was Outriders. I don't remember.
I think you both
dude.
For you both bought an Xbox during Outriders of all the games that could possibly have been the one that you bought it for. Yeah, it had a lot of technical problems, but I mean, in the end, the technical problems wouldn't have been such a big deal if the ending didn't drag for so long. I think it had some good ideas. Like, I liked the idea that it wasn't like a live service, like ongoing game, that it was really just a 3-person co-op game, sort of in like in the style of a live game, like a Destiny. And some of the powers were really neat, and it was cool when we were, I said neat again, were, able to use them in consort together, and some of those abilities or some of those modifiers on some of the guns, with the poison, or it would light things on fire, or like there would be like multiple bullets coming. You would hit it once, and like a bunch of bullets would come out of him and hit him again, stuff like that. It had some good ideas, and I know they've updated it since we played it. I don't really have any desire to go back and play it, but there's a reason why it's stuck until now when we're making these cuts, because there are things about it that were good and that we generally enjoyed. So he says it was Outriders. That's very true. Outriders, good thing of being the first one I throw onto this cuts list over here.
My cuts list is going to go long then. Okay.
Yeah, I want to keep things. Well, no, because we're gonna. I want to keep things like that we played a lot of that. Because sometimes you look at the games you have left, and you're like, oh, I don't like these last 2 games. Like, can we look about what we cut and see if there's anything else we can bring back? That's what that's sitting there. Okay. So you can cut something, Justin.
That's my.
There's one obvious outlier on this list.
I don't know which one you're referring to at the moment. So I will say,
look where my mouse is.
I was gonna let you do that because the last time I tried to cut the Ascent, you got mad.
That was from like music or vibes or whatever. Those are those 2 categories.
All right, well, I'll let you cut that. I'll cut Curse of the Dead Gods.
Oh, okay.
It's like an early favorite of mine this year. Coming off Hades, I was looking for that like next roguelike experience, and say isometric. This game has a lot of like neat things about it, though. It's like
there's that word again.
Dark. I know. Fuck, Mark, you got me all tripped up now. I'm worried about saying it. It's got this really rad thing where you have to fight in the light or the dark, and depending on which one you're doing, you take more damage, but you dish out more damage sometimes, and some interesting modifiers. It's really cool. I got up to the final boss, and I just couldn't do it. It was difficult.
Mm-hmm.
But I really like that game, and that might be a Steam Deck game for me in the future because I could see myself wasting more time in there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, not in the top 10, but probably hanging out not that far outside of it.
Okay. I'll throw this on this list because we're gonna cut the Ascent. This is getting a straight cut. Neat game. No, a game that couldn't get out of its own way is really the verdict on the Ascent for me. We could just never get up any sort of momentum playing it because every time we would try to play it, we'd spend 45 minutes of the 2 hours we had to play dealing with technical problems. Either we couldn't load in first, or we loaded in and then it froze for somebody and they dropped out, so we all had to drop out and then come back in, and we had to quit the app all the way out to the dash and then go back in. Like it just
all the tutorials would pop up again every time you entered a pause menu.
Yeah,
it was a lot. Goodbye the Ascent.
Yeah, goodbye the Ascent. Great music, great looking game, but when we were playing it, I was like, oh wow, like this might be a surprise, GOTY like contender, and then it just never caught.
Do you remember when I think Andy and me would get stuck into a first person mode in a third person isometric game, and we'd be stuck like that? That was bad. That was bad.
Yeah.
That's a great bug.
It's a great bug.
If you're gonna have bugs in your game, at least make them memorable.
Yeah. And he said there when he would just be a floating gun, like his body wouldn't be there.
Awesome.
It would just be a floating gun. Yeah. So lots
bugs of the year.
So many issues in the Ascent. Okay. What do you want to cut now, Justin?
Gosh.
I think there's one more thing we could probably cut easily. And then start.
You and I are not
fans
of Kenna Bridge of
Spirits. Yeah, there you go. It lasted this long because I beat it. I finished Kenna Bridge of Spirits.
I did not. I played a few hours of it though.
A really beautiful looking game. With some interesting ideas with story. But overall, I think it is a below mediocre platformer. It has good combat, but I didn't feel the desire to become good at that combat because I didn't feel like the systems around it were engaging enough for me to want to spend the time it would have taken for me to get good at that combat. It had a real like PS2 platformer vibe, which there's not a criticism of it, but
nope.
It feels like a great first effort from a studio that I look forward to seeing what they do with the stuff they learned from this game. And
definitely.
Better systems, a more interesting world. Like when you're traversing, there's more stuff to do. Whatever. I mean, I like the size of the game and I like how contained it is, but there needed to be more involved in it. So yeah, Kenna's gonna go, and there's no chance that's coming back. So that's going away. Also, by the end of Kenna, I was just furious with it. Some of the platforming stuff at the end, like I would jump on a platform, hit the platform, and then the character would just slide off the platform to death. And there's one sequence at the end where you have to like really precisely platform through an area where if you fall, you just automatically die. Sometimes you start over and you have to jump over things and then do this and do that and activate switches that lift up platforms. And there were just times where I was like, I'm doing what it's asking me to do, and it's still pushing back against me. So it is gone. All right, so I'm gonna read off the games we have left on this list. All right, Justin. We still have quite a few.
We have way more than we usually do at this point.
Yeah, Death's Door, Ratchet and Clank: A Rift Apart, Bowser's Fury, It Takes Two, Hitman 3, Emily is Away 3, Overboard, Psychonauts 2, The Forgotten City, Returnal, Resident Evil Village, Inscription, Life is Strange: True Colors, Metroid Dread, Boomerang X, Halo Infinite, Wildermyth, Forza Horizon 5, Deathloop, Guardians of the Galaxy, Unsighted, The Artful Escape, Unpacking, Chicory, Solar Ash, and Wordle.
Okay. I'm going to make a cut. I'm going to cut Boomerang X.
Okay.
For the sake of moving this along, because we have a lot of games that we're going to fight over.
Yes.
Boomerang X isn't in my top 10 list.
Okay.
I really liked it a lot. So I'm not going to fight for it to make our top 10 if I wasn't in my own top 10.
Mhm.
But a really cool game that I recommend it if you're a fan of like old school, really fast moving PC shooters.
Mhm.
I think you would like it.
All right. I thought that was going to last a little bit longer, to be honest with you. So, how many games we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. We have 22 games still left.
No, we have more than that, right?
Oh, wait, 22, 23, 24, 25. 25.
Yeah, okay.
We have 15 games.
We need to
So here's
what up to the altar.
Here's what I suggest we do before we start going after games. Okay?
Do you want to move a couple of games up?
Let's figure out what is going to be locked in the top 10 so we know how many spots we are actually talking about here. Because I don't
I agree we need to do that. I think it's too early to do that. We have 25 games.
There are some games
we need to get it down under 20.
There are some games we know we're going to put over there. Like, we're not going to talk about Inscription right now as a game that's going to get cut.
All right, move Inscription over.
Okay, let's move that over. All right. I mean, that's a sure lock that's going to be in the top 10. I think there are other pretty sure ones, but you know, I don't know if we want to gut check through the list right now or if we want to just start talking about games that we want to cut.
I think we need to cut. I think we need to get the list under 20, and then we can move some more things up. Okay.
All right. So I guess it's my turn, to put something up. I have the first. I have the first.
I mean, you could come. You could come after me and try and take one of mine.
No. Well, no. I'm getting off easy. The Artful Escape.
You bastard. Yes, take the Artful Escape off. Delightful game that we talked about enough last week. It lasted longer than I kept forgetting that it was there. Otherwise, I would have cut it.
The Artful Escape. We're gonna cut here.
Oh God.
All right. Very cool game. Great music. Looks really neat. I like the vibes that it has. It just, I think we talked about this in text message form, but it was like 80% of the way to being a really good game. It was just missing something almost everywhere along its chain of things. And for me especially, it's definitely like a Bobby game, and it didn't even like crack those areas for me. So we're gonna take that off. Cody, you're gonna be very disappointed. I'm afraid to tell you in the chat. At least for a little while.
Andy, Andy keeps asking us to put Lake every time we do one of these podcasts. He's like, forgot to add Lake to the list. Where did this joke come from? Anyway. Man, I'm debating between. How strongly do you feel about Bowser's Fury?
I feel very strongly about Bowser's Fury.
All right, I'll back off Bowser's Fury.
And we can talk about it. I mean, we can have a discussion about it.
Not yet. No,
okay.
No. If you want to, we can hang on to that. I think there's an easier game that we could cut here, and that's probably Ratchet and Clank.
Okay, we're looking to make people angry at us early. You know how I feel about Ratchet and Clank: A Rift Apart, which is, I think it's a very well made Ratchet and Clank game that looks gorgeous, but in the end did not move me in any real kind of way, like from a gameplay perspective or, from any other perspective, really. I mean, gameplay would be the main thing, right? But the different weapons are interesting, as Insomniac weapon choices almost always are, but there was nothing about it that put it over the top for me.
it's a very, very good game that in other years would probably sneak in at number 10 or number 9. But not this year. I'm sorry. It looks fantastic. Everything you said about the weapons is totally true. I mean, it's maybe one of the best looking games I've ever played. But for me, there just wasn't enough there to like keep me coming back. Like I beat it and I enjoyed my time with it, but it was like the second I beat it, I stopped thinking about it, except for like, oh yeah, that game is really, really good looking.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they'll do more of those and I'll be there to play them.
Yes.
But for me, it's not like a game of the year for me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like it's like one of the pretty good but not great MCU movies. It's like I totally had a great time experiencing it while I was experiencing it, but afterwards, no thoughts about it. I will say that gun that turns things into like plant life, the topiary sprinkler thing, is a very good gun.
That one's good.
I enjoyed that one a lot. But yes, we can cut this. I'll put this in the cut section because it is getting cut very late, so I'll throw it over there in case we want to bring it back for any reason. I doubt we will, but it's gonna go over there. All right, let's see. What can we cut? All right, let's stay in this sort of zone. Forza Horizon 5. What do you think, Justin?
It just missed my top 10.
It's not in my top 10.
So then by law, we have to cut it. Again, it's just, Forza is the game I think that I played the most, like the racing game I played the most of in the last couple of years. And part of me is just like, why don't we play more of this? Because when we're playing it, it's such good fun and it looks great. And we have a great time with it when it works.
Yeah, when it works.
But yeah, I don't know. There's just, due to no fault of its own.
No, it's not the game's fault, for sure. It does exactly what it's trying to do very well. But I think the reason we didn't play it was because, well, I mean, Halo came out like a couple weeks after it came out. So that took our attention away for a little while and then kept your attention forever. But the other part of it is, like you said, I felt like, we talked about this last week a little bit, but I wanted the multiplayer with your crew to be a little bit more intuitive and a little bit easier to navigate. I feel like I said, dropping markers on things and them not showing up for your entire squad. And
it's annoying.
And it was annoying that it wouldn't do that. Like I want to say, go to this race. It's right here. And so you have to search through your map to go and find it. There were times where we were playing where like I couldn't see you, but you could see me, and I could see both of the squads, and but one of them couldn't see. It was a lot of weird stuff happening all over the place with it. But the core of it, very, very fun. We had a lot of fun just like playing those speed traps and looking for the signs and looking for those car, the car barns and stuff like that. A very, very good game. It's a game that it would be, if we really, really loved it, we would have kept playing it, and we moved off of it. So
yeah,
that's the proof is kind of in the pudding in those ways. All right,
it's a game I could totally see during a dead period in the summer, us being like, let's go back to Forza. They added this big expansion, and checking it out.
Mark in the chat.
Now I have
Mark in the chat says we just lost him because it's the only new game he played in 2021.
If only Mark would have actually played the video game with us.
Yeah, maybe we would have played more of it. He played with his other friends.
Other friends.
Not allowed. Shame. Not allowed. All right, so Justin, now we must.
Now I have no idea where to go.
You must
I know I'm going to meet resistance at every turn.
You must cut.
I mean, you know how I feel about Emily is Away 3.
If you're ready to have a heels dug in
your top 10,
Justin, it's like in my top 5.
Oh my god! I thought we were putting good video games on this list. Life is Strange: True Colors.
Oh.
Listen, I like that game a lot.
Tell me why we should cut it.
Up until the last chapter, I thought it was a lock for my top 10 list. I was really enjoying it. I liked the characters. I liked the music. I liked the setting. I liked everything about that game. And it fumbles the bag so badly in the last chapter that it soured almost the entire experience for me. And like, look, I get it that, it's more about, and I've said this about other games. It's about the journey. It's not about the end. Like, I had a great time playing it, but I'll say the difference between that and something like, I'm going to use Deathloop, because I made the argument with Deathloop that I really enjoyed Deathloop, my time with it. The ending was unsatisfying. The difference between unsatisfying and the way I felt about Life is Strange True Colors endings is a gulf that I just cannot bridge. It left me with a sour taste in my mouth. It was, I mean, basically, what is it when they introduce like a plot device to just help solve everything all at once?
Oh, Deus Ex Machina.
Yes.
Yes. The God in the machine.
Yes. They just happen to have this whole thing that like weirdly ties the story together in this way that just does not feel satisfying. It feels bad. The reveals they make at the end of that game feel like they come completely out of left field. And because of that, I think there are stronger games on this list. If the ending was just okay, so I could see it making this list. I'm
going to throw up some spoiler walls right now for Life is Strange True Colors, because I want to talk. We have not really talked details about this ending, even off mic between each other. I want to do that because I feel like it could do that. So we're going to talk for a couple minutes. Spoilers, Life is Strange True Colors. Spoilers for the end of Life is Strange True Colors really fast. So I get what you're saying about the ending. I totally understand what you're saying about the ending. But I want to ask you, is it just the revelation that the dad worked in the mine with what's his face? Like, is it just that one detail that breaks it for you?
It wasn't just that. Like, I feel like the whole survivor tribal council thing that your character Alex is going through at the end just felt not good. Like, you could even take out the part about the dad, which is the crazy tie-in that the game did not need at all, and I still wouldn't like the way that this felt at the end. Because a lot of the decisions that you make in that game, like, will come back to haunt you. I feel like they're decisions where you don't know if what you did was the right thing. And in the end, I felt like I stumbled into an okay ending without realizing that I was doing that. Like, I just happened to like flip a 50-50 coin and make the right call in one or two spots. And I got the good ending. And a lot of my issues with another game on this list that I mentioned is that I did not get the ending I wanted. In this ending, I still got the ending that I wanted, but it bothered me how I got there. Like, that whole thing when she's standing there we're in spoiler territories.
Yes.
With freaking like bullet wounds.
Yeah, she's not good.
Not in good shape, and then your friends that you're with, one of them is turned on you for like no reason. It felt like it just like a Mack truck just came like flying through and smashed into me.
Oh, he turned on you?
On my couch. Yes.
Oh, he didn't turn on me.
Turned on me.
He didn't turn on me.
But it was a lot of this was just like, I didn't see any of this coming. Like, I don't even know where my moments to like increase that relationship were. I had to look it up afterwards to be like, what did I do wrong that he got all angry at me? And I get like, that's a lot of those games, right?
Yes.
Where you're making these choices and you're not always going to make the right ones.
Yeah.
Take all that aside. Like, even though I didn't make some of the correct choices, I still got to the desired ending that I would have wanted.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that entire last chapter felt like, and made me feel like the entire last thing was just like it's an overused word in 2022, but like a cringe fest. Like, I was like, oh my God, I don't want to look at this. I don't want to be part of this. This is all bothering me. And so then you add in the Deus Machina, and you're like, no, I could have written a better ending than this.
So what you're talking about though is like, I don't know, 20 minutes of the entire game. Because the rest of that chapter is all that flashback stuff to her mother and to her her treatment and to the orphanage and to all that stuff, which I think are all really, really great scenes that are really affecting and really emotional. And I don't think the twist of, God, what's his name? The bar owner. What?
Remember.
Jed being bad is like out of nowhere either. I think there are seeds laid for it, especially in that D&D chapter where he ends up being like, you think he's the nice king and he ends up being the villain. I think they're all laying that groundwork past that. And I liked the ending where I chose to leave the town with the girlfriend and go. And I liked that scene where they were showing you what your life would be like if you stayed there, that you get sort of this idea of like, if you stay, this will happen. And I thought all that stuff worked really emotionally well. And I mean, I think either choice is fine, but for me, I was thinking as Alex, like, could if I was Alex, could I actually stay in this town after all that just happened to me when I was here? And so I left. But, you know, and there's really interesting decisions in that game, like with the mom who, you know, is furious, you know, and like is angry at you, and you have to decide whether or not you're going to take her anger away or not. And you really have to make a choice, like, am I doing this for myself or am I doing it for her? And how that all plays out. I really liked all that stuff in the game. And I feel like to punish a game that is very uniformly great all the way through for a bad 20 minutes, I think is a little harsh. I know that it leaves a bad taste in your mouth because it's right at the end. I totally get that. But it doesn't erase all the other stuff in the game. Like, if the game started out bad and then had a bad beginning 20 minutes and then was great for the rest of the game, like, you wouldn't be saying this. You know what I mean?
I know, but it's literally the ending. It's like watching a bad movie, right? The ending is what sticks with you. If you're watching a movie and you're like, oh, this is all great, this is all good stuff, and then it gets to the ending and it's like, the ending comes out of nowhere, doesn't fit with the rest of the movie, and just feels like, wow, they just shoved that in there. You'd be like, yeah, it was a really good movie until the ending. You wouldn't be like, I need to put this on the 10 best movies of the year. It's the way that it
depends
ends
on the year.
Sticks with you. Oh,
depends on the year. But the thing I'll say about a movie is 2 hours long. You know what I mean? A movie is 2 hours of passive entertainment. It's not 10 hours. You know,
but you can't, like, to me, this is a movie video game. A 2 hour movie to me is akin to a 10-hour video game, when some of the video games we play are 60 hours long. So in that way, to me, this is like I'm going to sit here, eat some popcorn and play this video game because it is short and I can get through it quickly, just like a movie. I hope. All right. So if you don't want to cut that, and you don't want to cut Emily Is Away 3.
I'm not saying we can't cut Life is Strange: True Colors. I'm not saying we can't cut it. I'm not saying we won't eventually cut it. I'm just saying, like, I think the estimation of there's 20 minutes in the last chapter that are bad. It's not even the whole. If the whole last chapter was bad, I'd be much more with you on it.
I didn't like any of the flashback stuff.
Oh, I think the flashback stuff is great.
I think the flashback stuff would be great if it didn't come. It doesn't come at the most imperative part of that game or the most perilous part of that game, where it's just like, oh no, is she alive? Is she dead? What just happened? Oh, by the way, don't look at that over there. We're going to spend 25 minutes over here on all this side stuff to, you know.
Yeah, but it's not side stuff. It's like the story is about Alex and her life and her journey and her learning to overcome trauma in her life. And that's what that stuff is doing. It is giving you answers to questions about what happened to Alex that have come up throughout the entire breadth of the game. You know, I think part of the separation too for me is that Life is Strange: True Colors, the whatever the plot of it is, whatever the ABC plot of it is so much less important to me than what the character arc is of the game. Like, when you're dealing with character study stuff, that's the stuff that I'm really concerned about. The sort of mystery aspect of it is never like my favorite part of these games. So that's maybe part of the separation of our opinions on this thing, is that as long as I feel like they do the character right and justice in their arc, what happens in the plot is secondary to me. So I think that's a big part of this.
And they do right by Alex.
Yeah.
They really do. She's a great character. It's just the rest of it doesn't hold up for me in the same way that it does for you.
And I will say, like, it is in my top 10, but it is probably number 9 or number 10 on that list. So there are other games I feel much more passionately about being on this list. So I'm okay, cutting it and moving it out of this section right now. All that being said, like everything I said about stands for me. Like there is, but like you're saying, for me, before the ending, it was gonna be probably it was probably gonna be my top 5, and then the ending knocked it down to about number 10 for me. But as we also have said this year, number 10 can go from number 10 to number 20 in a blink of the eye, depending on my mood at that moment. So I'm not gonna sit here and dig my heels in for hours about Life is Strange True Colors. I'm gonna move it over.
We have too many other games to go through.
I'm gonna move over this cut section right here, and then we're gonna go to the next thing.
I think we should cut Outriders, Curse of the Dead Gods, and Ratchet and Clank from that list.
Okay.
With how strongly we're gonna feel about some of these other games, they're not gonna come back.
I agree with you. Let's get those out of there. All right. My cut, right?
Your cut.
Let's talk about... Let's talk about Chicory. I would like to cut Chicory off of this list. I played Chicory for 2 hours and was bored.
The worst part of Chicory. Yeah, you played the worst part of Chicory.
But this is why, this is the inverse of your other argument, right? It's like,
yes,
it's like
I understand. How
many hours do I need to invest in a game before the part that I enjoy starts happening?
So I mean, you could use our text messages as an example for what is wrong with Chicory. Chicory is like maybe my number 11 game, and I gave it serious consideration to putting it inside my top 10 over the last 2 weeks. The problem with Chicory is it is 90% there. It's 90% on its way to being maybe inside the top 5 for the both of us. It really is. The problem is its pacing is completely borked. It starts way too slowly, and you can, if Bobby were to read the text messages, if you could ever find them.
Yeah, no, I can never find them.
It's me saying to him, I'm like 4 hours into Chicory, and I don't know if I'm gonna last. To me, it was boring right off the bat, and everything I'd heard about that game was like, you just have to stick through it. You just have to stick through it, and it gets a lot better, and it does. It gets great. The middle part of Chicory is fantastic. The problem also with it, though, is it lasts maybe 2.5 hours, 2 to 3 hours too long. But that middle part, that middle area, now the whole thing comes together into I think a very good package, but it's too slow in the beginning and it's too long at the end. But that middle part is where the game sings, and you start getting these abilities, and you're like, this is terrific. And then at the very last, the third of the game, they're like, we're going to make you do these long drawn out challenges that really just take away the momentum from the game. And story wise, it's good because it's about Chicory finding out about, or your character. So my character's name is Wings. Your character Wings finding out more about themselves. Like, I can do this. I can be the one. Because right before that, there's a moment where you feel like you can't do it. And it's where you and the previous wielder Chicory come together and really form a relationship together, of friendship. I'm not going to stop you from cutting it. It's one of those games that is just so close to being something incredibly special, and it just overstays its welcome just a tad bit too long and doesn't get going fast enough. for me to really
Should I disappear it or put it on the cuts list?
Put it on the cuts list.
Okay. Totally fine with that. Okay. Bring it on, Justin.
I'm going to do you a favor.
Oh.
And I'm going to fall on the sword of something.
Let me guess what it is.
We could take. Go ahead.
Solar Ash.
No.
Oh, okay.
We could take Unsighted off of this list.
Okay. Do you want to talk about it? We haven't talked very much about it. We talked a little bit about it.
We haven't talked about.
In previous podcasts, but
so Unsighted is a Zelda, isometric Zelda game, with I'll say maybe some roguelike elements. No, I'm sorry, not roguelike elements, Metroidvania elements.
Yeah.
Where
it's also got a little bit like that
robots,
Souls, like you lose stuff when you
It's got a bunch of different games in it, but the main hook of this game, as some creature is trying to claw its way into my bedroom or my office here, the main hook of this game is you are a robot, and in the future, robots have gained the ability to have consciousness. Mm-hmm. Except they're all losing that consciousness now because of this material that they use for it is being taken away by humans.
Yeah.
And every character in the game has a running clock with how much time they have left in the in-game worlds before they become unsighted, and that they lose the ability to think for themselves and they become mindless robots again. And you as
they become like feral. They don't even become mindless robots. They become feral. So they will attack you. They become like evil, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you and the main character have the opportunity. You yourself have this timer.
Yes.
As does your blacksmith, as your weapons master, as your companion that is traveling with you.
Yeah.
And you have to decide who lives and who becomes unsighted. Like this little fairy that is with me. I cannot lose this little fairy, and so I would just keep pumping. I forget what they call it. Some sort of dust.
Some moon dust, or I don't know what it was.
Moon dust or something like that. Yeah. To keep them alive, because like this character is important to me because they give me hints on where to go.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, okay, well, my blacksmith is really important to me. I need to keep my blacksmith alive. But this guy who does modifications to me, I kept you alive for a little while, but I just didn't have enough to really save them at the end to keep them going. And so like you could lose pretty much everybody in that game if you're playing it for long enough. And you are not spending that currency to keep people alive. It's really cool. And we talked about it when the game during like one of our regular podcasts where there's a push-pull in that game where it's just like there is a lot of exploring you can do, but the more time that you spend exploring, the more time that you are wasting. And there may be a secret down there. There may be a cool weapon that you have to figure out this puzzle for. But the longer that you can't get the puzzle, the closer the people that you love come to dying. And so I find that to be stressful, but like in a good way. Like, wow, games don't do this. Games do not give you the opportunity to make this decision. Like usually there is a way for you just to flat out turn it off. So they're not going to be like, hey, if this is too stressful for you, don't play our game. They make it accessible enough to where it's like, you could turn this off. The world will still tell you that everyone's going to die, but look, no one's going to die.
Yeah.
I kept it on and I lost characters. I lost characters that I liked. But I had made the decision like, all right, like X, Y, and Z, I need you for this quest and we're going to do this together. And what happens. And it was really cool. But I know that you were not fond of that mechanic. And this also fell right outside my top 10 lists.
Yeah, so, I mean, I wouldn't say I wasn't fond of the mechanic. I wasn't fond of the way they implemented it at every corner of the game. I felt like a lot of times the systems were at odds with one another instead of working together to make I'm fine with the stress. Like I'm cool with the stress, but I felt like the game wasn't communicating information to me that would have at least made where I was focusing my stress, more productive, I would say. Because there was also a system in the game where, when you give them that dust, it's almost like in Hades when you give them that nectar, it like levels up your bond with them when you do it. And when you get a certain bond level with them, you get items from them. But there's no way to know this, like, unless you do it and they give you something and they're like, oh, wow, Like, I get something for this. Oh, I wish I had kept this person alive or that person alive. And I also felt like the economy of the game, like the way you got upgrades and the way you upgrade yourself, was a little bit broken. It felt extremely punishing
Harsh.
to try to level up your stuff. Yeah. And because of, and for a game that already had so many other places where it was being harsh, like you like when you die, you not only lose time, you lose money. You lose the currency you use to upgrade things. So there is like it's so harsh in so many places that, and you can get an upgrade that will not make it so you don't lose money when you die, but that upgrade takes up a chip slot, and your chip slots are like precious because it's very hard to upgrade that thing. So I just felt like if they, again, much like we talked about with Kenna Bridge of Spirits, when this developer does another game with all of this information and all of this experience they've had with these cool ideas they obviously have, if they're able to implement them in, I think, a more satisfying way, and I keep it stressful, you can probably keep it stressful and make some of the other parts of the game a little bit more, a little less friction, I should say. Without the option of just turning off the timers, because turning off the timers feels like you're giving up. Like that's like I was thinking about doing it, and I was like, but like that's the thing. Like that's the thing of the game. Yeah. Are these timers? So if I turn this off, then I'm just playing a Zelda-like game that has like okay puzzles, you know.
Good combat though. I liked the combat.
The combat was pretty good, yeah. So that was.
I will say that the coolest thing about that game is its secrets. Mm-hmm. It has really cool secrets, and the thing is, you'll hear whining, like most of the time I was like, I had to take my headphones off and be like, what is that? Mm-hmm. And then you would like press against the wall, and like the wall would fall away, and you'd have to fight like a bunch of guys, like hard enemies, and there'd just be a dog there.
Yeah.
And then you walk up, and like it, like the whole anime like screen changes, and like you walk up, you pet the dog, and like it does like a whole like animation change to where it shows the dog's face, and you like pet the dog. And until like the very end of the game, I didn't realize that you could bring the dogs that you find, you could pick one to come out and fight with you.
Yeah.
So when I fought the final boss, it was me, my little fairy, and this like Saint Bernard. It was awesome.
And one thing, this I am not putting this all on the game, but the perspective of the game is such that sometimes they don't do a great job of denoting levels, right? Like what's above you, what's below you, what's on your plane. I feel like sometimes the art is not great at conveying that. And that was compounded for me where what I thought was a dodge was actually a jump. It was taking me off the ground. And I didn't know it was taking me off the ground until I fought the last boss. And I was like, there's no way I can get away from these attacks. And then I realized, oh, this is a jump. I can jump over these like beams they're shooting out at me. So, but I could not tell because of the way the perspective was that they were jumping. So, you know, again, I'm not putting that all in the game, but it was just one of those things where I was like, oh my God, if I had known this earlier, some of the stuff I was like running up against would have been a lot easier. So just, do you want me to move this to cuts or make it disappear?
Just make it disappear.
Okay. All right. So, oh my God. All right, Justin. Let's see what we got left. Death's Door, Bowser's Fury, It Takes Two, Hitman 3, Emily Is Away 3, Overboard, Psychonauts 2, The Forgotten City, Returnal, Resident Evil Village, Metroid Dread, Halo Infinite, Wildermyth, Deathloop, Guardians of the Galaxy, Unpacking Solar Ash, Wordle. We're below 20. We're at 18, Justin.
All right. Let's start moving some things up. Here we go. Ready? We're going to do this.
Okay.
Is Guardians of the Galaxy going to make our top 10 list?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Guardians of the Galaxy moves up.
Yeah. Okay.
Is Resident Evil Village going to make our top 10 list?
That's a good question.
I say yes, but since you don't instantly say yes,
I'm like borderline on it. It's very possible, but it's not like I'm not like, yo.
It's crazy talk. Okay, but we'll come back to that.
Yes.
Is Halo Infinite making this top 10 list?
I mean, knowing you, I can't see a world in which it doesn't make the top 10 list.
You are correct. So it makes the top 10 list.
That's one of those games where I know how you. I mean, I like it and well enough. I'm not somebody saying anything bad about Halo Infinite. I know it's not. It's gonna make it. Let's see. Is Metroid Dread gonna make the top 10 list? I'm looking at you for the answer on this one before we talk about it.
It is in my top 10, but it is towards the bottom.
Okay.
So
it's in my top 5.
By definition, yes, then it makes the list.
I mean, Lisa, we'll put it over here for now. This can move. Like, things can move, but what we're trying to do now is figure out, like, really kind of how many spots we're actually talking about that we have to whittle the games down that we have. Green is asking how many hours you have in Halo Infinite.
Over 4 days worth.
It's crazy. By the way, and after the first, like, 2 weeks, all by himself. I didn't even know he was playing it anymore until, like, one day he was like, I'm gonna hop in a couple matches of Halo. I was like, what? We're still playing this video game?
I have not stopped playing that video game.
I know. Okay.
Is there any other
Death's Door?
Any other game? Death's Door is not in my top 10.
What? Really?
It is not.
Wow. That's cray-cray to me. That's crazy to me that it's not in your top 10.
I told you that it was. My list is wild.
That's crazy to me. That's not in your top 10.
Not wild. I know. But we talked about this. Games 5 through 15 are all basically the same game. Could I see Death's Door making this list? Yes, but it's not on my
Okay. I totally understand.
This year, I decided to do things different with my top 10 list. I was like, what do I really love? Like me, this handsome individual here, knowing that I would have a completely different list with you.
What do you usually do with your top? That's what I always do with my top 10 list.
I mean, there are games where it's just like, am I really going to put this game on there? No, I know this other game is better. But this time I just didn't care. And I was just like, I really like this game. I don't need to justify why I like it so much.
That's the only way to live, Justin, is to do it that way.
I haven't lived until now.
Apparently not. All right. Okay, so we've got these 4: Inscription, Guardians of the Galaxy, Halo Infinite, Metroid Dread on our kind of top 10 list right now. They're not locked, but we're pretty sure they're going to be on there. Which leaves us with what? Now that's 14 games for six spots.
Is there any other game right now that you're looking at on this list that you're like, I think that this is a no doubt?
There are ones for me. There are ones for me.
Are you think that there are any for both of us?
I thought Death's Door was going to be one of those games, but apparently not. No.
Okay.
I don't think so.
All right.
There's 2 that maybe, but I feel like they need to be discussed before they get on there. Like, let's talk about Wildermyth, okay? I want to talk about it because we haven't put that much time into it, right? We put a very small percentage of the game. We really loved the time we put into the game so far. But we haven't put it through its paces like a lot of these other games. You know what I mean? Like, I know. If we're cutting things like Life is Strange, True Colors, or Chicory because parts of the game are drag or aren't great, it feels disingenuous to put Wildermyth on there, not knowing how it works out. You know what I mean?
But my argument to that would be the parts that we did play of Wildermyth are fantastic. Like the hours that we put in.
Yeah.
The hour count for me is very close to the hour counts that I put into other games this year.
Yeah, for sure.
Solar Ash, right?
Yeah.
I really love Solar Ash. Solar Ash is in my top 10.
Mm-hmm.
Wildermyth though is like that is one that I could see the two of us coming together to put it on because of the time that we spent in that game together was so enjoyable. And it is not like us not playing that game is not due to a like, oh, we just got pulled away by other things. Like Wildermyth is like, it's like the game that you need to be in the right frame of mind to play.
Right.
And we also enjoy playing that game with a third.
Yes.
So to link up all together is sometimes a little bit difficult.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not advocating that we have to put it on, but to me, Wildermyth is the strongest of, I wish we got to play it more because it might be game of the year if we actually got to.
I don't disagree with you on that sentiment at all, but I guess I would say, and I'm not the kind of person who is like, pure hour count is sort of the the metric by which I measure how these games should be placed. Because obviously some games are longer than others. Some games, take 50 hours. Some games take 5 hours to beat. But Wildermyth has a lot of content in it. And what we've done has been great so far. But I think that without knowing like how even the campaign ends that we're playing, right?
Yeah.
Like we haven't even finished one campaign out of it. If we had finished the one campaign, I would be much more like, okay, let's vibe on this and put it in that top 10. But without doing that, I'm not saying we make it disappear, okay? But I think we should move it into the cuts list and then see where we're at when we get down farther onto this list. Like as far as what we've got.
I have a feeling if Wildermyth does not end up on this list, that next year when we're talking about best story or game of the year, it'll be Wildermyth Presents.
Yeah.
Because I could picture us really coming to love this game over the next year. It's a shame that we came to it a little bit late in the year.
We came to it very late. Just want to give a shout out to Craig in the chat who just popped in up late. We got a few people up late watching tonight, so appreciate that, everybody. Everybody who's up watching us, thank you so much. And let's also tackle the other W in the room, Justin. Let's talk about Wordle.
Okay.
Let's talk about Wordle.
Man. This game's taken over my life in a weird way. Like, the thing about Wordle is I've never gotten into a game like this before. Like, I watch people do crossword puzzles sometimes, and I'm just like, that seems great. Like, I wish I could do that. And I in your idealistic idea of a morning, it's like, I sit down on the couch, I have a pen and a paper pencil, pencil and paper, a cup of coffee, and maybe like a croissant. I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna do this crossword puzzle. You know what? That's never been me, ever. Just take out the crossword puzzle and the croissant and the pen and the paper, and that's me sitting there with my coffee, regretting the fact I was ever born.
Staring off into the middle distance. While children scream around you and run around you.
Yeah. Just regretting every life decision I have ever made up until that point. It just replace that with all those other things, and that would be the version of a morning. But lately, I've been playing Wordle in the mornings, or sometimes late at night before I go to bed if I'm still awake past midnight, or sometimes at 3:00 in the morning when I wake up wide awake for unknown reasons. And every day, you and I, for the sake of some other friendships that we want to keep, share our Wordle scores with each other.
Yeah.
I'm like, how did you do today? How did you do today? I've done that with my wife. Like, I've gotten her into it, and she got her best friend and her best friend's husband into it, and the four of us send the Wordle scores back and forth to each other. In the 6+ years we've been doing this podcast, a game like this has never approached being on one of these lists. Like a simple, like you look at it, it is a word game. It is, it is not like anything else that we've ever played before. And in other years, and I think in other years where I had a higher opinion of, what constitutes a good video game, I'd be like, no, get this shit off the list. Like, it does not belong against something like Deathloop or Unpacking. But in the year of our Lord, 2022, or 2021 actually,
is when it was released.
Came out.
Yes.
I think that this game has taken over not just a section of the internet, but it's, I don't know. It was like getting into HQ at the time when HQ was going on.
Yeah, HQ. Yeah.
You know, it was like a phenomenon, and
Old
this
Scott
is the first one of
Rogowski.
these that I've gotten caught up in. He keeps showing up on my timeline
I
trying
know
to
he's in
peddle
an
something.
ad.
And
Some
I
ad.
never,
Yeah, I know.
he's in an ad. You know what, Mark? Mark makes a good point that the New York Times, since it was bought, that people's streaks are being lost. And I want to see, because I've never missed a word, if my streak is lost. Let's see. No, I still have it. I've still.
And we're talking about Wordle, and I'm sure
days.
most people who listen to us know what Wordle is, but Wordle is this super simple word game. You have to guess a 5-letter word, and you've got, what is it, 6 chances, right, to guess the 5-letter word, and you guess any 5-letter word, and if you get letters, you get the right letters in the right place, that it turns green on your guess. If you have a correct letter in the wrong place, it turns yellow. And if you have a letter that doesn't belong in the word at all, it's gray. And you take that information and you start guessing, again. And you have 6 chances. And if you don't get 6 chances, then it's done. And it only comes up once. It only comes up once a day. There's one word a day, and that's it. And the guy who created it for his wife or his partner. I don't know if they're married. She loved word games, and he wanted to make something for her, and he wanted to make something that would not like consume her life all day if he made it. So he made it once a day and then it blew up obviously on the internet, and the New York Times bought it for like $1 million or something from him. They said they're going to keep it free, and we'll see what happens with that. But it's just been it's a really cool story. It is a lot of fun. I mean, it does fit very nicely into that, like, the crossword puzzle, or like the pictogram, or like, those other kind of daily puzzles that, New York Times or whatever has. And like speaking to you, Justin, the New York Times crossword app is really, really good. And it's only like $5 a month, and you can, there's a lot of assists in it. So you can start to like learn as you go. I was doing them for a while, like for like 2 months straight. I was doing them every day. And then I fell off, and I'm sure my brain has gone back to mush since then. But it fills that same hole where it's like, okay, I'm going to wake up. I'm going to do this. I always do it in the morning in bed. I'll wake up, and I'll grab my cup of coffee. I'll lay back down in bed, and I'll start going with it. And, I've missed a few words, but it is what it is. I think I played Peach is asking if we played it in 2021. I'm pretty sure I played a little bit in 2021. Most of it has been in 2022, for sure.
That's not a disqualifier for us.
No, it's not.
We delayed to be able to catch up on the games that we had not finished in 2021.
Yeah.
Look, does it make this list? I don't think so.
Yeah.
I mean, judging by the strength of these other games, I don't think it could sneak on. Like, this is a game that could sneak on this year. Mm-hmm. But I really like it, and I'm going to keep playing it.
Absolutely.
Until I lose, and then I'm going to never look at it ever again.
I've lost a few times. I think I'm like at 88% win percentage or something. But my thing is, like, I don't spend as much time. I don't spend a ton of agonizing over it. Like, I will like I'll think about it, and I'll spend a little bit of time on it, but I kind of give myself sort of an artificial like time limit in my head to do it. And because it's more about exercising my brain than getting the thing right or wrong. So Wordle's gone. So, Justin, I did 2 games there. I got 2 games down off this list. You need to start helping us out here.
Hitman 3.
Tell me why.
It's more Hitman, which is not a bad thing.
Okay.
And I've played the first 2 stages. And I've, you know how I feel about Hitman. I love playing it with you. I love doing as much chaos as possible. But in other years, like, to me, it's just the next chapter of Hitman. It doesn't mean that that's bad, but to me, the next chapter of Hitman in a year like this does not instantly make it one of the top 10 games. It is good. It is not like it's bad. I have not finished it. You have.
Yes.
So you have to tell me why you think it should stay.
So I'll say my piece for Hitman 3. I think it is more Hitman, but I think as we discussed, in you playing it and on the podcast, it does different things than the other Hitman games have done. It the way I think it presents its single player for first time you play through them levels, I think is above is way above what the other Hitman games have done, because it makes that first playthrough sort of single player experience more rewarding for me than the first two games, which, yeah, like you could have the chaos, you could do crazy stuff, but when you're playing alone, right, the first time playing through, it's not as, I don't find it as fun to do just like random chaos. It's just like, I'm just trying to figure out the map, I'm trying to figure out where I need to go, what I need to do, and try to execute it. And that's how the first two games felt in a lot of ways. And this third game, by presenting you with some really interesting objectives and wrinkles in how you play the game, like the Dartmoor mission, like Berlin, which inverts the idea of what Hitman is again. Sometimes I think it takes it too far. One of the levels of Hitman, the last level of Hitman 3 isn't really even a Hitman level. It's just basically you're walking down a train to go do something, and it's like there isn't a lot of that play. Like you are basically kind of, there's only one direction you can go in, and you have one objective, and that's it. So I think at times it goes a little too far in those ways, but I also think some of the maps, like I think the Dubai map, I think the Dartmoor map, I think the Berlin map that you're about to get to, I think are all like top tier Hitman maps. And I think it does what it does so well. And I think the game has never been better about understanding its sense of humor and just really laying into stuff. Also, the fact that the package of Hitman 3, which is all the Hitman 3 levels, but also you can bring in all the Hitman 2 levels and all the Hitman 1 levels. The fact that they brought that through to completion, like they actually did it. You can play Hitman 3 with everything you've played in the previous two games. And if you own those two games on the platform you're playing it on, you can do with basically no cost. And like that is such a cool
you're on Game
thing.
Pass.
Yeah, or if you're on Game Pass.
Trilogy.
Yes, that's exactly right. And everyone's saying Meat Stick is best weapon. Meat Stick is a great weapon in Hitman 3. All those yes, it's more Hitman, but no other game does what Hitman does. It's one of those games that just, they've made so many Hitman games. Hitman's been around for so long. It's been around since the PlayStation 1. That's how long Hitman's been around. Like, it's been around for a long ass time, and nobody has ever done what they've done. And the fact that they reinvented the series and did what they did with this new trilogy, I think is just amazing. All of that being said, it is like my number 9 or 10 game of the year. So I'm not going to put up this like giant stink to keep it on this list. There are other games that I feel much more passionate about that I want to get on this list, but it is I don't know if it is probably the best Hitman game that they've put out, I think.
Okay.
Intrinsically, it's the third one in the series, so it's not as exciting or new as the first one was, especially. I think the first one was like just like it surprised so many of us, because I think a lot of us, like I said, Hitman's been around for a long time, and everyone had kind of decided by the time the new Hitman came out, like, if I like Hitman or not. And I think it made a huge group of people who never cared about Hitman fans. So, again, like, it's tough to match up to that kind of feeling. But Hitman 3, it's one of those things where it is continued excellence, and sometimes it's tough to reward that on a list where some stuff is just new or just particularly outstanding for the year, but it is a great game. And I'm going to move it over to the cuts list, because just in case I want to keep it in our minds when it's there. Let's see. I did 2, Justin, so you got to do another one.
It Takes Two.
Really?
It Takes Two could be one that maybe makes it between the two of us, but it's not in my top 10. It's too long.
It is long. It's for sure long, but my God, like, the ingenuity and imagination that is at play in that game is amazing. Like, every level is just completely different and completely unique. Like, it's got some of the most, I think, interesting and layered co-op mechanics of any co-op game I've ever played. I think we said last time, I think it's the best co-op game ever made, most likely. The best straight co-op game ever made.
It has those squirrels with the machine guns.
It does.
It's great. Like, this is the problem. This is the problem with this year and now and other years, right? Other years, it's like, if we're cutting these games, it's like, yeah, it's a good game, but it's not like top 10 material. These games are top 10 material, but there can only be 10.
I know there can only be 10.
And like, when we were like, I'm going like, I'm having to get down like more minute than usual, because like in any other year, like It Takes Two would be in my top 10 list. But like, there was a point when we were playing that game, I was like, I kind of want this to be over now. And then it went on for an entire other level. And yeah, that other level was like visually exciting, like that music level. Like, it's a cool ass level. But at the same time, it was like, oh my God, like this is just going on and on, because like the snow globe level lasted forever.
Remember when we
look,
threw that remember when we threw that elephant?
Do you remember when you would kill? Yeah, remember when we murdered that elephant that was begging for its life? And it made us both like feel like bad about ourselves.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Like when we tried to make our kid cry, like all that good stuff. Look, I'm not saying it for sure can come off, because the both of us really enjoyed it. This is like, this has to be like a thing we do together, where we have to come up with these lists.
Yeah,
because there are a bunch of games on here that look like I know you feel very strongly about. There's a bunch of games that I feel very strongly about.
And we haven't, neither one of us have touched those games yet.
Yeah, but which, for the sake of time, we have to eventually start
I know.
There are a lot of games on here where it's just like, look, I don't know. Like, I know you feel strongly about Emily is Away, Overboard, and Psychonauts. And I feel very strongly about Deathloop, Solar Ash, and what was the other one? Let's say Unpacking. And it's just like, all these games can't make the lists. So, and in some ways, like, maybe It Takes Two sticks around, actually, because it's a game that we both agreed, like, both of us really liked it, and this needs to be a communal list between the two of us.
Yes. So,
instead of just concessions, like, be like, this is Justin's game, this is Bobby's game, this is Justin's game, this is Bobby's game, and have that fill out.
And some of those games will make that list, because there's some of these, like, there is a place for passion and a place for the games that we truly love the most, making the list. I think absolutely.
We call those places 9 and 10.
Yeah, 9 and 10. Those live in that area of the list. But I'm gonna put up a game to cut that's gonna surprise you. I'm willing to cut Overboard.
Okay. I like Overboard.
Overboard's great. Again, we're talking about, like we talked about before, like 5 to 20, 5 to 15, 5 to 20 on my personal list are like, at one point Overboard was like number 6, and then it was off the list when I made my final top 10 like the other a couple weeks ago or whatever. And that was really like, I was finally just like, I got to do this, and I just got to like gut check. I just got to be like, okay, like here's your list of games, just put them in the order that you feel right now. You think you're ready to forget about like, like you said earlier, like it's this game on my list, is it, maybe it deserves, no, just like, what do you feel? And that's what I did. And Overboard ended up not making that list. It is a fantastic game. It is so clever and well written and funny, and all of that stuff is very true about it. I loved playing Overboard, and I think it offers a lot. Like, it offers a lot of great things. But looking at this list of games, I can already see where I really want to like dig in and have my fights. And Overboard, I think, it's just nice to be nominated video game of this list for me. If it's not on my top 10, I can't fight for it that hard. Like, if I didn't fight for it for myself to put it in my top 10, I can't fight for it here to be in the top 10. So I'm gonna get Overboard off the list. Overboard is gone. All right.
Oh God. Take off Solar Ash.
Really?
It's my number 10 game.
Oh, why did it stick around this long then?
Yeah, go for it.
Do you want to say your piece about it before it goes away?
It's great. Heart Machine makes really cool games, and you should all check out Solar Ash if you like Jet Set Radio, if you like very pretty games with amazing visuals and cool music and skating on clouds and drugs and psychedelic experiences and being stabbed through the heart and all these cool things. Shadow of the Colossus. It's great. You should check it out. You should check it out.
I want to play it. I wasn't going to spend $40 on it though, or how much it cost.
To me, it was worth every cent. It was
I'm sure it was.
This was the game. This was the game that knocked a lot of games off my list. Where it's just like, oh man, but like Death's Door was really good, and Unsighted was really good, and like all these games, and it was just like, man, I just loved every freaking second I played of Solar Ash, and I don't have to justify that. So Solar Ash, I bid you well, my darling.
Okay. Goodbye. All right. So this is what we have left on our list of games that need to be cut. We're getting closer. So Death's Door, Bowser's Fury, It Takes Two, Emily is Away 3, Psychonauts 2, The Forgotten City, Returnal, Resident Evil Village, Deathloop, and Unpacking. So we've got 4 games on the top 10 side of the list right now. It's Inscription, Guardians of the Galaxy, Halo Infinite, and Metroid Dread. And so that leaves us 6 spots for what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games. So we need to get rid of 4 games off of this list. That makes it much more manageable in my head, thinking about it like that now, in order to start moving stuff over. So what do we say? What do we do here? It seems, let's just say this. It seems like you think Resident Evil Village should be in the top 10.
I think Resident Evil Village should be in the top 10.
Okay. It's also in my personal top 10. So
then yes, by definition, it should make the list.
But it's like number 8. Okay, so just calm yourself down, my friend.
I won't calm. I'm not going to calm down.
Whoops. I won't calm.
Okay.
I clicked into the card. Okay. So now we have 9 games to fill 5 slots.
Oh, God. What is the game you feel most passionately about on this list?
I think you know the answer to that question, Justin.
Oh my God. I hate that game. Wait, actually, I don't know which one. Is it Emily is Away or is it Psychonauts?
Psychonauts.
Psychonauts. Right?
Psychonauts.
Okay.
Psychonauts 2 is my number 2 game of the year. Like, it is...
Alejandro, I tried to talk about Bowser 20 games ago.
We can talk about Bowser if you want to talk about it now.
Let's talk about Bowser. Let's talk about Bowser's Fury.
You brought it up like when there was like 40 games left on the list. So I was like, let's just wait a little while until we talk about it.
I think Bowser's Fury is a really cool proof of concept that I hope that they learn things from and pick up and do in the next Mario game. That's whatever is like not going to be Odyssey 2, the Mario game after that, because they probably can't have learned the lessons if they're making Odyssey 2 from that game into that one. I think the game, I think an open world Mario game is a great idea, and I hope that they take this concept and run with it. I hated the fact that whenever I was in the middle of doing something, fucking huge Giga Bowser, whatever they call him in that game, would come and mess my shit up, and I would have to stop what I was doing and fight him. Now listen, fighting him and turning into a giant fucking cat with a Super Saiyan glow about you is cool the first time that you do it. But when I'm in the middle of trying to get a star or a shine, or there's shines in that game, right? Cat shines or whatever?
Cat shines, yeah.
Yeah. When I'm trying to do that and he comes and just like starts wrecking my shit up, I'm like, I got annoyed. Because there were times where it was just like, I don't have enough shines to unlock the next cat thing. So I had to like run around and get shines while this giant Bowser is trying to murder me. I did not like that.
If you get one shine when Bowser's out, he goes away, Justin. You get one shine when Bowser's out, he goes away.
sometimes it's not that easy.
I know it's not that. I know it's not that easy. I agree with you. I think Giga Bowser shows up too many times in the game when you're trying to do stuff. I wish it would have been a little bit more like placed and not just, oh, it's been 10 minutes, so it's going to start raining, and then he's going to come out and do his thing or whatever. But what I would do sometimes when I started doing in that game was I would like get to a shine if it was raining and just wait like a minute and let him come out and then just jump and grab the shine and he would go away. I'm not saying that's a great workaround, but I'm just saying that's what I would do.
It's not. But I understand.
But it is a proof of concept type of thing, but it is still like a 5, 6, 7 hour experience if you get all the shines and do all the things in it. And I think it has some super clever game design, and it just to play in sort of that super exploratory Mario, you know, I'm going to use the word sandbox, not in like the video game sense of sandbox, but just, you know, just this world I can run around in it and I can get the shines in the order I want to get them in, and I can do cool stuff, and each one, everything's sort of like connected. Not only is it, I think, a good point to what Mario can be, but it reminds me a lot more of playing like Mario Galaxy and stuff like that, of the ability to sort of do a lot of stuff in one area, you know, at the same time. And I thought it was clever what they did with the Baby Bowser stuff, and also there being things that you could only do when it made like the Bowser coming out stuff less annoying, because there was stuff that you could only get when Bowser was out. That's why at the end of the game it got more annoying, because I already gotten all that stuff and I just had to get like a couple more things, and I kept having to deal with it. But when I was playing it, it was one of the best times I had during the year of playing a game. I'm willing to cut it off the list because of the reasons that you're talking about. Like it is a small chunk. It is an expansion of a game. All those things probably ding it a little bit, but it was such a joy to play this surprise contained Mario adventure when I wasn't expecting a new Mario game, you know, to come out. And the fact that it's attached to an already great Mario game in itself, I think, is just an amazing type of thing. It is really great. It is, you know, it's not. It's in my top 10, but it's near the bottom of my top 10. So I'm okay getting rid of it, but it's so good. All right. So
we've talked about the Forgotten City.
Yes.
Forgotten City makes my top 10 lists.
Where in your top 10
towards
list?
The bottom.
Okay.
It is towards the bottom. I think it has great storytelling chops. It is a really cool experience that you can run through. I think the ending is batshit insane. I think the actual good ending you get is heartwarming in a way that few games are.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know where you, like, you know, I know at a time you had it in your top 10. It's probably fallen out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I like that game a lot, but I'm not going to sit here and go to town. There are 2 other games on this list that I will go to town for. And
I know what those 2 games are, Justin.
I know you do.
Okay, so do we make it disappear or move it into this cuts list?
I will take it off. You can, take it off.
Okay.
Take it off, baby.
Okay, take it off. Take it off. So my guess is this, right? If you and I had our just like clear runway, right, to place games on this list, right? Then you would put Returnal and Deathloop on this list, and I would put Psychonauts and Emily Is Away on this list. Which I think
correct.
I really?
You got one of those games right, but you don't have the other one I'm going to fight for.
Okay. That's okay. Well, then I know it's unpacking because just by order of elimination, it has to be. Because you already tried to cut the other 2.
The 2 games I'm going to fight for are Returnal and Unpacking.
Interesting. Okay.
Deathloop, I mean, Deathloop is in my top 5. But I know that that game does not place for you.
Deathloop? No. I mean, here's the thing. Let's talk. I'll say my piece about the two games that I didn't put a ton of time into that are very high on your list, which are Deathloop and Returnal. Like, I know how much you love both those games. And just sort of like in a pure, like, full transparency thing, I had planned to put ample time into both of those games. And I think just in the last month or so, I think for both of us in a lot of ways, the last thing I want to do when I play a game right now is to expend a lot of mental energy, while playing it. And I just could not. And also I'm in the place where, like, when I'm playing, like right now, when with games, I'm just like, if I want I'm like into this, I want the social aspect of it. And when it's not like a couple of us playing, I'm just like, I don't know if I have like the energy to play a game right now. That's where I've been. It's kind of a little bit of burnout. You and I went hot and heavy for a couple of months, knocking games off. And I've put time into both the games. What I'll say about Deathloop is I've enjoyed what I've played of it, but there is something about Arcane's games that, like, on paper, they are perfect for me. And then when I start to play them, for whatever reason, I just do not connect with what's going on. And I don't understand it. It is one of these things where I wish it's like one of the things where I wish it wasn't so. Like that, it's one of the it's the biggest, like, gaming thing that I wish wasn't so. Was that I wish I loved them, and that I wanted to play them always. That is how I feel about them aesthetically and conceptually, and then when I play them, I just don't love them. Returnal was purely just like, it was at the beginning, it was so punishing, and I just did not have the stamina to deal with the stuff around Returnal, like, the crashes, or not being able to put it into rest, not being able to pause it and play another game, all those other things. So I don't have a lot of feedback to put on Returnal. It felt good to me, it looked good to me, but I didn't get a chance to play it. So I want you to let you say your pieces about those games without me kind of getting in the way, because I don't have a ton to say about those games.
I mean, I think Deathloop is the one that's probably going to not make it through this list or onto that list. And, like I said, Deathloop is in my top 5. I think it's the best that Arcane's action has ever felt to me. And I think the voice acting in that game and the locations and the sense of style and place that game has are really fun. I like the hit, like, for people who are looking for Hitman, Deathloop is not for you. But if you kind of like the ideas of Hitman and, like, I got to kill this target, but there's not like 40 ways to do it, this game is more your pace. And so for me, that was it, where it's just like, I felt very overwhelmed by the idea of having to figure this out piecemeal, like piece by piece. And Alejandro asks in the chat, like, is Deathloop as linear as I've heard? And I'll say, yeah, no, it is not like a walk down this hallway and shoot at people. But what happens in that game is, like, there are 4 distinct time periods. There's afternoon, morning, afternoon, late afternoon, night. And these targets, these 12 targets, I think, or 8 targets, I can't remember, I think it's 8, are all spread across those time periods. And you need to take them all out in one go. You can't go from morning to night back to morning again. So you have to be able to go morning, afternoon, late afternoon, night. And by playing those levels and exploring them, you start finding opportunities to try and herd those guys together. Like, like, if I do this in the morning, this one specific thing, this character won't be there in the afternoon, but he will be in this other place in the late evening. You do that enough, and you have a clear shot where you could take them all out in one go. So in some ways, it's not like, it's not like Hitman, where it's like, okay, I'm in this level and the guy I need to kill is here, and I have so many ways to do it. There are certain characters where it's like, look, you got to get in there and shoot this motherfucker in the face before this thing happens, or you will lose them. But then there are things where it's just like, there's a bomb in this level, and if you trip the bomb, the run is over unless you get out. And if you don't kill the target in that time frame, your run is over. Like, your run will technically be over because you can't complete the whole objective. And you can't do the whole objective for a while. I put like 25, 30 hours into Deathloop. and it took me that long to line everything up. So it's a really cool game, but it doesn't have the, I'll say the, I don't even want to say the chops to be a top 10 game because it is for me. But since Bobby didn't really get into it, I don't have the passion that I feel about Deathloop, even though it's in my personal top 5 that I do about some of these other games. Like I think Unpacking is a special game, which we got into a lot last week, and I'll do a Cliff Notes version of last week's discussion here. But like I think that game is unique and special in ways that other games are not. So
yeah, we'll talk about Unpacking in a second.
But even though it's lower on my top 10 list than Deathloop, because I like shooty bang bang, I feel stronger about Unpacking. So I'm okay letting Deathloop go for our combined list. Just know that I like that game a lot.
I think, and to Alejandro, what you're saying about the about the little area, I think what the kind of deal is like, it's kind of like this idea of like choice-based games are the same way. It's kind of like a diamond, right? It's like it starts out very narrow, and then as you go, it expands out where you're learning other levels. It seems like you have all this choice. You're figuring out how to kill people, but then as you get near the ending, it sort of closes back in, because at the end there's only one way to do it, right, Justin? Like
there's only one way.
You're only one way to do it, which I think. Look, I have no, what I'm talking about is purely academic. Like I didn't experience it, so I'm not going to speak to the experience of it. But I think a lot of the blowback from the game, like sort of in the conversation, was because of that sort of there's only one way to do it at the end type of thing. I think a lot of people felt cheated by that. I'm not saying it's good or bad in the game because I didn't experience it, but I think just speaking to Alejandro's question, I think that's probably what he's reacting to, is people talking about that.
I will also say that story makes a turn about 75% through it. I'm going to spoil this because I think Bobby does not know this. I don't think, and I don't know anything about
you. You're fine spoiling it. I don't care if you spoil it. Spoilers for Deathloop starting now.
Deathloop. So Juliana is the character that is one of the visionaries that is coming and killing you all this time, and you're like, I think your character in the very beginning is like, did we date? Like, there is a chemistry between these two characters, and like, basically like, did we fuck? And then you find out she's your daughter.
Okay, I knew it was gonna be something like that.
Like, yeah. It's like 75% through the game, and you're just like, I don't know about this. Like, I'm not sure about this choice here, and why, how, all that stuff. And I mentioned this during our last podcast. The story of Deathloop is really for you to figure out on your own and find all this stuff. They give you bits and pieces, enough to piece together, but you're like, you're my daughter. How did that happen?
Yeah.
Unless you search and find all the clues and the audio logs and all that stuff, you won't know. You won't exactly know. And the game has three endings, and none of them feel super good. Like, you're like, I feel great about this ending. Like, at the best one, you're like, you break the loop and your daughter hates you. I mean, she has been killing you the whole game.
Yeah.
And she's like asking you, don't break the loop. Now you know I'm your daughter. Don't do it. And you do it anyway, which is like what you were trying to do, but it leaves you like feeling a little bit bad about it. Not in the same way that I'll say that other games made me feel bad at the ending, but
what is with time loop games in 2021 and like weirdly related people? Like
I'll tell you something. When somebody brought up the word incest into a time loop game, I was like, well, they're talking about Deathloop. Not that they ever get there.
Yeah.
Not that that's ever anything that they even remotely hint at. But I was like, oh, that's probably what they're talking about. And then when I found out what happened in 12 minutes, I was like, what the fuck? But yeah, I mean, look, I like Deathloop a lot, but it's not going to make our combined top 10 list, and that's okay.
Every year, there has to be the Justin curveball, and this is the one. This is the one. I had in my head, I was like, well, I got to figure out like how to get my games on there with Deathloop and Returnal going to be on there too, because like, whatever. And that has been changed. Let me move this over to the cuts though, Justin, just in case we get to a point where like, because you feel very strongly about that game, so I don't want to 86 it before we take it out of our brains entirely.
How many games need to be cut off to make this? 2, 4, 6. There's 6. There's our top 10 right now.
No. We need to cut one more.
Oh, that's right. One more.
So of this group, For me, I would cut It Takes Two. That's my personal cut of this group. If you want me, like, if you want to try to cut one of my games, like, I will sit here and I will talk about it and I will defend it. I am totally up for that. So don't worry. I'm not going to get offended. We're at the point now where we're down to it. So I'm not going to get offended.
I'm not worried about offending you.
Okay.
I think we're long past that point. I mean, look, I'm not going to come near Psychonauts 2 because I know how much you like it.
Mm-hmm.
And I recognize that game has great things about it. They're just not for me. Man, Emily is Away. I would rather keep It Takes Two and take Emily is Away 3 off this list. We have debated this point back and forth, and I'm not going to sit here and relitigate that argument. We haven't
talked about this. Is the Game of the Year podcast. We need to talk about it. We can't say cite other source. You know, like I'm not going to ask people to go back and find other podcasts where we talked about it. You know, I don't think that's fair.
Okay, I will. I think Emily is Away 3 is the worst of the Emily is Away games by a wide margin. And the reason I feel that way, for those who have not heard this discussion, is that game really locks you into the ending that it wants you to have, while giving you the idea that you can affect the ending like you can in the other games. You cannot. You are forced into a awful ending or a fuck, man, that sucks ending. And I don't like that. Like, for me, look, if I go into your game, like The Last of Us, look at this. Look at what we're bringing up. The Last of Us 2 and The Last of Us in some ways, those are games that are dour and they do not end in a great spot. They do not end with you feeling like, fuck yeah, life, video games, the world. I feel good about myself. They don't. But under no circumstance do I have the illusion of changing that. And Emily is Away 3, they give you the illusion that you have a real effect on what's happening with these characters, and you do not. You're going to get dumped. And you're going to get dumped and have your heart broken, or you are going to set fire to your relationship in a way that it is extremely bad. And for me, I could not get past that fact at all. And it's not like the game will give you like, look, this is our story. This is the story that we wanted to tell. And that's the end of it. Because it is only on your first playthrough that you get that. If you choose to romance the other character in the game after you have that first playthrough, you can get a good ending there. And then once you finish your second playthrough romancing that one character, you could go back to the original character that you romanced and then get the good ending. Like, to me, that is really forcing you.
Sounds like Nier Automata to me, just.
It's completely different video games. If you had asked me, like, a couple years ago, like, hey, man, Emily is Away 2 is a great video game, I would have been like, fuck yeah, it is. It's a really good video game. I loved everything about that.
Not true,
game.
because I tried to get it on a top 10 list, whatever that year was, and it got cut. So don't even bring that bullshit at me right now. All right?
There was probably a really strong year. But it's not like I didn't like Emily is Away 2. I really did. I liked that game a lot. That stressful. Andy, that is the game where you're using IM. That was Emily is Away 2.
Yeah, we should this up though. Emily is Away is this like screen life game basically where it's a series of games that like take place on screens, and they take place in different eras, like years. So the first one is very, very short, and it's basically all aim. The second one has aim, but also has like some like a YouTube equivalent and a little bit of a little bit of a MySpace equivalent. But everything you're doing is taking place here. It's just all chats you're doing with people. And the third one is like kind of like the Facebook equivalent. And it all takes they're all about, the first one is basically talking to someone named Emily. And then the second and the third game give you two options for people that you want to sort of like romance as you go through the game. And they all take place in high school, at the end of high school usually. So there is, there's like sort of that feeling of like, you're going to go your separate ways at a certain point, and what happens with that. That's essentially what all the games are about. Exactly, Mark. Evelyn, no. She broke my heart. She broke my fucking heart.
It feels like this game wants to have its cake and eat it too. You know, like.
Can I pose a counter argument to you really, really fast? A counter example. Not even a counter argument. A counter example. Walking Dead season 1. Okay? No matter what you do in The Walking Dead season 1, there's a million choices in The Walking Dead season 1. No matter what you do, at the end of that game, spoilers for The Walking Dead season 1, which came out, I don't know how long ago now, 12 years ago? I don't even know how long ago it was now. A long time ago. Lee gonna die, gonna get bit, gonna die, and you're gonna have to leave. Clementine's gonna have to leave him. That's what's gonna happen. No matter what you do along the way, all the choices you make, whatever mistakes you make, whatever things you do right, whatever you do at the end of that game, that's what's gonna happen, right? It's a game on its face. It's about choices, but it's not really about choices. It's about choices and how you as a person react to situations and to people, but not necessarily a choices game that affects what happens at the very ending of the game, right? And I feel like Emily's Way 3 is very much in that vein of game, right? Like it is a game that is about how your personal, it's very much about the choices we make in life. The choices we make are not always about getting to a certain ending, a certain outcome. It's about how we navigate our way through life and how we feel about ourselves as we move through that time. Like I choose not to kill or not to kill this person. I'm talking about Walking Dead right now, not about Emily is Away. Emily got wild. You know, whether you decide to kill Ducky, what that kid's name was, the little kid, like the son.
I don't remember.
It's the Kenny's son.
I know. Yes, I know who you're talking about. I can't remember the kid's name.
You know, like that, whether or not he's bit, he's going to turn into a zombie, whether you put him out of his misery, you make the family do it, no matter what that affects how those characters feel about you, but it doesn't affect what happens initially at the ending of the game. And like Mass Effect, same, like all these kind of choice-based games do a lot the same thing like this, right? So, you know, I think like, that's why that the ending, I'm playing Emily as a way to immerse myself in that experience of what it was like when I was however years old, using AIM, talking to a girl I like, and maybe that girl becomes my girlfriend, and maybe it ends real badly, because it happened to me a bunch of times, where I got dumped and left with my heart broken. But I'm there to have that experience they want me to have, and to like make my choices and make how I would behave. Whatever Emily or Evelyn decides to do at the end is not really about me. It's about what they want. So like that doesn't bother me, because much like we talk about Life is Strange, I'm just there for like the character journey rather than like the ABCs of what happens. Like whether I stay with Evelyn or not at the very end of this game, we're going to break up before we're not going to be forever. You know what I mean? So I gotta
How
like.
Do you know though, you never know.
You never know. I guess you never know. I will say,
no living proof.
One of the greatest things that happened during when I was streaming Emily's Away 3. Mark was watching. Our friend Mark was watching, and we were going back and forth. I was going back and forth talking, and Mark sent me a message in Steam. And it popped up on the stream like a window, like right on top of the window. And it was like, how dare you do this at the whatever party I was at or whatever. And I laughed for, I don't know, 3 minutes straight. After it happened. It was one of my top moments of the year. It wasn't even really in the game. But no game this year or many of other years has put me so deeply in the mind frame of the character I was meant to be portraying or meant to be playing and their world as Emily is Away did. Like after I played Emily's Way 3, I had a solid day where I was bummed that I got dumped by Evelyn like she actually dumped me in real life.
Who wants that? Nobody wants that. I don't want that. I don't want to feel like that a day later about a video game.
Sometimes stuff doesn't make you want to feel good, Justin.
I have enough of that in my life. I don't need it. To counterpoint your Walking Dead argument is what if I told you, oh, by the way, if you happen to play The Walking Dead a second time, you can unlock the ending that Lee lives.
I'd be like, okay, that's weird, but like, it doesn't change the experience I had. Like, if you'd never read a wiki about it, Justin, or looked it up online, you wouldn't have known. You would just been like,
well, the only reason that I did is because the other games in the series give you that option. If this was the first game,
no, the first game,
series,
I don't think the first game. I don't know. I don't know. I never looked up at the first game. I think the first game is a very particular path. You have to walk. So it's very short.
And so like, so in 2, you have that option. It's laid out before you. It feels like in this one, I got the rug swept out from underneath me, and that's why I actively dislike it, because it was just like I went in there expecting something. Now look, that's on me. I had expectations for the game, but it does come from a series where the previous game, there's no change there. You know, it's like it's still the exact same game with a different layer of paint on it. But in that other one, I was able to make the choices that led to a satisfying ending for me, where I didn't feel like I got dumped the next day, because I don't want to feel that. And so with this, it just like pushed me towards that ending. And it's just like, I could almost be okay with it if it was just like, well, this is the story that they wanted to tell, but it's not the story that they wanted to tell, because they're like, oh, if you really want that good ending, go play it again. And it's just like, that feels manipulative.
But counterpoint, it gives the game replayability if you really want it.
Ugh.
Like, I don't care about that. I just care about whatever story. And this is, again, a difference between how you and I consume these things. And Mark says something, which is, I totally agree with him, which is, he goes, I like to be emotionally destroyed by my media. And I like, sometimes that's how I want to feel too. Like, I want to be emotional. Yes.
The same. I'm so glad you guys met.
I want to, Mark and I saw Dear Evan Hansen together and we cried. But I like it is cathartic for me to have those feelings, because they are feelings I've experienced in my life. So to experience them without like the actual like emotionally damaging fallout of actually being dumped, like that was it was very affecting to me. But for me, it's like in many ways, games like this, I don't think about them, as in game ways, right? I'm not thinking about like, how can I get the best ending I possibly can get out of this? I'm like, I'm just going to make the choices and do the things that I would do, and let's just see what happens at the end. Like, that's how I think about these things, whether it's bad or good or whatever. Like, it doesn't matter to me. I'm just like, I just want to see what they give me. Oh, that also doesn't help that I have never gotten a good ending in Emily is Away. In Emily is Away 2, I also got a terrible ending, because during that, so people don't know, we're just really sidebar about Emily is Away 2. There's this amazing sequence in Emily is Away 2. In all the other parts of these games, when you're doing your typing and your thing, it's not timed, right? You don't really have a timer. You're just like, you can take your time and figure how you're going to answer. But there's this one section where both characters who you can talk to are messaging you at the same time, and you have timers for how long you can go before answering them, before they will like react to you not answering them. And so you have to go back and forth between these windows and like pick options, and like you're like going back and forth. And I was just running out of time, and I was like, and I like half read what like Evelyn sent to me, and I sent back to her like an answer that just completely showed that he was not paying any attention to what she was saying. And she was basically like, go fuck yourself, and just like ghosted me or whatever. And I got a terrible ending. I got a terrible ending on that one. So it didn't feel weird to me when I got the terrible ending in Emily's Away 3.
That's the part that's missing. That's why you don't understand how important it is to have that cathartic good ending. Like, I can't remember the characters' names, but
Emily and Evelyn. It's always Emily. It's always Emily and Evelyn.
So you feel very strongly about this, so we can keep it on the lists, even though I'd officially like to note in the patch notes that I'm putting up an official protest that this game is bad.
Okay, so what are we cutting?
I guess we're cutting It Takes Two.
I mean, do you feel good about, are you okay with that, or Death's Door? I don't know.
I really love Death's Door. Like, to me, Death's Door is like a perfectly, that's not even saying it correct. I was gonna say like a perfectly cromulent video game.
I need to save like our conversations about games while you're playing them, because you played this game 6 months ago or 7 months ago or whenever it came out, and you were over the moon about it 7 months ago.
I like it a lot. Again, it's not my top 5, so fuck all. Like, it's somewhere between 5 and 15. Again, like, there's absolutely nothing wrong with Death's Door. It's really good. So if you're asking me which one should stay on this list, it's Death's Door over It Takes Two, because I didn't think anything negative about it. Death's Door.
Yeah. I know people, and Cody says in the chat, like, Bobby, I can't believe you're willing to cut It Takes Two. You don't understand about this process. Like, if this was my list, there would be games I would definitely cut before It Takes Two, but it's not just my list, it's our list. So you need to be like, need to be cognizant of that. All right, so I'm gonna move It Takes Two over here, and let's just put this collection of games over here, and I'm just gonna move stuff around. I'm gonna do this so that we.
Oh, good. Now we have to get to the hard part.
That's not the hardest part. We did the hard part already. So right now, our unordered list of 10 games: Unpacking, Returnal, Inscription, Guardians of the Galaxy, Halo Infinite, Metroid Dread, Resident Evil Village, Psychonauts 2, Emily is Away 3, Death's Door. That's 10, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yes. Whew. I was really hoping it wasn't somehow 11, and then we were going to have to cut another game on this list.
I don't know what we would do then. Okay.
Can
you do me a favor and flip that list back over to where games we play
yes,
right now?
yes.
Because it's like partially blocked on my screen.
Yes, there we go. You're welcome.
Oh, God.
Okay, so let's talk about the bottom half of the list first. I mean, obviously, Psychonauts 2, Emily is Away are going to live near the bottom of the list. I understand that. You hate them.
I'm not saying they both need to be at the bottom of the list.
You don't hate Emily is Away 3. You hate the ending of Emily is Away 3. But, like, you straight out hate Psychonauts. So...
Psychonauts just does not vibe with me in any particular way. But honestly, I'd rather move Psychonauts up than Emily's Away 3.
Oh, we do. Psychonauts is higher on my list, for sure.
No, I'm not saying both those games have to exist at the bottom of the list, because both of the games I'm really passionate about, I don't want at the bottom of the list. So we can have discussions.
Okay, let me just check my Audacity really quick. Make sure. Yeah, I'm still rolling. Okay. Waveforms, everybody.
What is the 10th game on?
Greg nails it. Emily's Way 3 is the best of all games for emo reasons. Nailed it, Greg. The bottom of this list. Probably Death's Door? Because it was honestly like the last game that we
Fair enough.
Put here. I mean, it's much higher on my personal list, but again, I'm totally fine with it being there. Death's Door is that game that we've it's the Stardew Valley or the Tomb Raider or the Rise of the Tomb Raider that it's just sort of here, and we haven't really even spoken about it, very much. Just say a quick piece about Death's Door. It is it's sort of like a Zelda action adventure game where you play a bird who is like a crow who is like a Grim Reaper. And you have to go get a soul, and the soul gets stolen, and so you need to go find the person who stole the soul that you needed to collect. And if you get it back, then you can return and kind of be immortal again. But as long as you're in the living mortal world, you can be killed. And you have to face these bosses who have these giant souls, basically because they have been alive way, way too long. And each world has its own sort of theme and look and vibe to it, and it tells this story. And what I think is the most standout about Death's Door,
music.
The music is amazing, but also it deals with life and death in such an interesting way compared to most games. I'm talking about narratively. It doesn't treat death as like this terrible, scary, awful thing. And even when
life.
It's part of life, and even when you take out one of these big bosses who have done terrible things, there is like a respect and a ceremony to it that I think is just kind of really touching in a very understated way, and I really like that. And I think also the the ending, like the real ending after you beat all the bosses, there's like an epilogue that you can do. That like ending is so good and like I think so effective. Really, really great. The music is great. Once you upgrade your combat stuff, then it gets to be really good. I think it starts out a little bit simplistic, but then it adds on enough stuff where it builds really nicely. And the reason it's not crazy high on my list is just because I think there were a couple of things, like I think like the last that snow boss you have to fight or whatever is not great, and there are some things that are a little frustrating, but overall I just think there's no map, which is like the craziest thing about that game, that there's no fucking map in that game. It is one of those games where it's like, okay, I cleared out part of this map and now I want to find this other secret. It's insane that there's not a map in it. So that's why it says number 10, but it really is great. I know you really liked Titan Souls, right? That was their first game, Acid Nerve's first game. I bounced off that game, but I fell in love with this game. So I just wanted to say our piece about it, so it didn't be that game that's great that we just didn't talk about.
Death's Door is awesome. Just I literally could find very little things wrong with it. It's a really awesome game, and it's on Game Pass now. Go play it.
Oh, that's right. It is on Game Pass. That's true. Mark, Emily Away 3 is one of my favorite viewing experiences with zero expectations going into it. Thank you, Mark. It's a very nice thing to say. Okay, so I'm willing to put Emily is Away 3 at number 9.
Okay.
I'm willing to keep it where it is. Okay?
Okay.
I think...
Is Guardians of the Galaxy a top 5 game for us?
I think it is.
I agree.
Okay.
Where is it on your list?
I think it's number 5. I think it's where.
I think it's 5 for me as well.
So there you go. Well, let's figure out where we're at. So, what would be your bottom? What would be your bottom 5? Just name your bottom. Like, I don't care. Not about our shared bottom 5 here. What would be your bottom 5 on this top 10? And let's see.
My bottom 5
how we match
on
up.
this list would be, we're not going to. Death's Door and Emily is Away 3 are there. Like for me, obviously, I would put Psychonauts, Metroid Dread. Unpacking?
Okay.
I think Unpacking for me lives on this list somewhere between 5 and 8.
So let's say we put that at 8. How would we put that at 8?
Unpacking. So I had issues with issues with us putting Unpacking on this list.
Yeah.
And let me say, I think Unpacking for me is just very like the idea of taking stuff and unpacking it and putting it away seems boring to me. I was like, wow, does anybody want to do this? This seems dumb. I have other things I could be doing. There's something just very relaxing about it. And I think the part that makes Unpacking so special is the way that it uses environmental storytelling to tell the story of a person's life in more detail than most games do with written word. My nameless character, I know all about their life. I know about their triumphs. I know about their failures. I know about their broken relationships. And I know about their humility moving back in with your parents when it is probably the last thing that you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I've moved in with my mom and my dad when shit got tough in my life. And you know what? Like, nobody wants to do that. But this character did. And they had to do it for a certain amount of time. And they had to let go of things that they didn't want to let go of. And they took things with them that meant the world. You know, there is, up until the time I was like 19 years old, I had a stuffed animal on my bed that I had since I was a child. And I carried that with me all through grade school, high school, the first time I got my first real job. And I had that for that whole time. And this character carries through memories like that with her for her entire life, up until, the game ends when she's married and moved into a home with a partner. And You can see how their life has progressed. And it does that all with this random shit that you are picking up and putting down. And for me, that is just a triumph in video games. That is like no other game does anything like that. So to me, like it's unquestioned one of the best games of the year, just for that alone. And also, the game logs have like 100, I think it was like 140 or 14,000. I can't remember where that zero carried. Different sound files in the game. Like if you were to pick up a lamp and put it down on a surface, and you could put this lamp down on the bathroom tile, in the bathtub, in the shower, on the bed, on the floor, on a desktop, it makes a different sound every time. Like that's a level of detail that I did not expect from the game, but also just like, it's a small thing, but it's a cool thing. And so, cool. I think it's easily one of the 10 best games of the year.
I mean, I'll say this for unpacking. It's not in my personal top 10, but I had absolutely no issue like putting it in this list. Like when you were like, I'm going to fight for Returnal and Unpacking, I was like, phew, I'm not even going to put up a fight with Unpacking. Like I'm totally fine with that getting into the top 10. No, it's great. And like we talked about last week, it tells a story that can only be told in video game form. It does something that could only work in video games. And I think that's really neat. It's special in that way. So I love it that it's on this list. But Mark called you out in the chat, by the way.
He really did.
Yeah.
I only sort of like Hawthorne Heights. There was a time and a place. If Lanny was here, I'd have to ask her if she still, if she liked Hawthorne Heights. Because usually I'm like, Lanny, did you like this band? And then I find out like, okay, cool, I'm still cool.
Okay. So I think the next couple spots are probably where Returnal and Psychonauts 2 are going to live.
They can go hand in hand together?
Yeah. That's what I think. It's definitely a compromise thing because like I like Psychonauts 2 better than almost every game we have left, but I know you don't like it at all, and Returnal is just a game that I did not technically like totally jive with or sink into. So I don't have a lot of stuff to say about its overall quality, but I think just for a shared list, I think that means those games probably live outside our top 5 for our shared list. So I'm just going to see here. So I'm just going to put this down for right now. I'm not saying this is the order. I'm just 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. I can't believe Resident Evil is just going to be in the top 5.
How could it not be?
Because it's like my number 8 or number 9 or something.
Oh, man, the game is so good.
It's a very good video game, but I don't know. It's just crazy to me. This actually order is fine for Psychonauts and Returnal. Just because I don't have negative thoughts about Returnal, and you have negative thoughts about Psychonauts 2. So I'm not going to super fight about it. Psychonauts 2 is my number 2 game of the year. I talked about it a little bit last week about why. I'll just say a quick piece about it. I'm not going to fight for it to move up or anything like that. I just a quick piece about it. I was taken by tremendous surprise by Psychonauts 2. I have enjoyed. Oh my god! I almost said Telltale, but it is Double Fine. Double Fine games in the past. I liked Broken Age. I liked Costume Quest and Stacking. Like I liked those games, and I generally like the idea of them a lot. Like funny narrative focused games, but I always felt like there was just like a little something missing from each one of those games that I'm mentioning. And I had no pre-love for Psychonauts. I never played the original Psychonauts game. I didn't play Rhombus of Ruin. I went to this totally just on the back of like, I like the art style, and I like Tim Schafer games, so let me jump into it. And Psychonauts 2, there's a couple games we talked about on this list that got cut earlier, is a kind of, a lot of ways, an old school 3D platformer. There's a lot of collectibles. There is a lot of you're traversing around the world to get places to do things, but it's everything around that that I think makes the game so incredibly special. I think that the platforming is fine, and I think that the combat is also just fine. They don't ask you to do a lot of it. That's the other thing. The game knows, I think, what it's good at, and that's these big weird set pieces that it's delivering to you that are also wrapped with really affecting character and some really mature storytelling for a game that looks like kind of like a giant fart joke on its sleeve, on its face. I mean, you play this kid named Rasputin Aquato, who is able to is a psychic, and in this world there's this group called the Psychonauts that are basically like psychic superheroes, and basically is they go around and they dive into people's minds to solve crimes and to help people, essentially. And you are like an intern at Psychonauts headquarters, and you are this kid who idolizes this group of people, and along the way you realize this group of people you idolize are just in fact people who have done some terrible things, along the way, and have done some stuff that they really shouldn't have done. And you in fact are kind of paying for that. You are paying for that in a lot of ways, even in more ways than you even realize, I should say. And your connection to Psychonauts is actually way deeper than you actually ever realize, that the character himself. And there are moments in it that are just pulverizing emotionally, and then there are moments that are hilarious in turn. And the cleverness of, I've talked about the Psyking level, which is this big kind of psychedelic music level, and then there's this game show level, and then there is this like museum ride level, and there is this there's this one you're stuck on the kind of deserted island area. There's this one that's made all out of paper, which is really, really cool. And just at every turn it is unbelievably clever, and when I finished it, I was just like, I did not know what I was expecting, but it wasn't what I got. And no game, this and Emily Away 3 are probably the two games that left the most impression on me from an emotional sense when I was done with them. And if you like 3D platformers and you like story stuff, it's on Game Pass. You should play it. I know Megs, who isn't in the chat right now, I think it was her number 1 game of the year. We were talking about it the other day. It's really just an unbelievable video game, and I love it so much. In most other years, it would have been a number 1 game. So that's what I'll say about Psychonauts 2.
I'm really glad that you liked that game a lot. I'm happy that you did. I wish I did. There are so many games that over the years that you've told me, like, you just need to play this game. And I come around, like, yeah, I'll play it. And I usually come around on it. And it's just, something about Psychonauts just did not jive with me. Maybe it was the art style. Maybe it was, it wasn't the storytelling. There's nothing wrong with the storytelling. It was just, maybe starting that game out in someone's mouth is just not for me. All that weird teeth stuff just kind of left a bad taste
it's not that long. It's like an hour of teeth stuff.
But for a guy who really doesn't like teeth stuff, it was enough.
Do you have that phobia that they warn you about at the beginning of the game?
Probably. Peach says, Megs has already messaged me asking how Psychonauts is faring in this list.
Yeah.
I will just quickly go on about Returnal. Housemarque makes awesome video games. This is their first time trying something big, and they managed to carry through their distinct style of action game from an isometric game to a third-person shooter, and that style somehow still carries through with flying colors, and it is incredible. It is difficult. It is rewarding. It was probably the best playing game, the best feeling game I played this year. It left me with so many incredible moments that I'm going to go back on what I said about one of the things about feeling. It was one of the best feeling games I played this year, especially in the first part of the year.
Justin's got to save his best feeling game for later, another game on this list.
I gotta save it for that. But no, like honestly, like the game just like it felt so good to play, and it was very tight and very responsive. But it was a wonderful game that I really like, and it's one of those things where it's like I miss the feeling of playing it and the excitement of playing it so much that I might go back and try and beat it all in one go. Which now that they have that option to at least save in case your PlayStation turns off, it would be good. But I lost 3 hours of progress in that game once and was just like undeterred, and was just like, nope, I'm just gonna do it again. I did it again and I beat the game. I will tell you, I was sweating bullets when I was at the end of that game though, because I was like, if my PlayStation for some reason freezes or restarts, I am so fucked right now. But yeah, like a terrific game, and I'm happy that it's here on this list. And if you have a PlayStation 5 and you haven't tried Returnal, you should give it a shot. It's great.
So I already see where the main fight is good. I know where the main fight is here. Already looking at the rest of this list. Do we think Resident Evil Village is as high as it's going to go?
I would flip it in Dread in like a microsecond, but
you mean I don't think, because we're gonna have to flip Metroid and Halo, so
no,
yeah, we're gonna have to flip Metroid and Halo for sure.
There's no way.
Yeah, 100%.
Metroid is like a good Metroid game. I'll leave out the Vania. Metroid has issues.
Halo has no issues. Halo is a perfect playing and performing video game.
You're gonna tell me where these problems are?
I can definitely tell you where the problems are, but I
know how much you like Metroid, and so like if you like Metroid's in your top 5, right?
Metroid's number 3.
Okay. Was my number 3. Village is fine where it is. I think Village is a terrific video game that has completely turned me into a Resident Evil fan. It is batshit stupid. Just a stupid video game. Yes, it's an incredibly stupid video game. It's stupid in like the best way. Like I think it actually plays pretty well. Like it's not. I was gonna say like it's like watching one of those like really dumb movies in the summer that comes out, like Moonfall, right? Like Moonfall, a movie that's coming out. No, it's gonna be terrible.
Do not insult Resident Evil Village by comparing it to Moonfall.
Listen,
Justin.
Listen, it is like a big dumb popcorn thing, and that's what Resident Evil has turned into. And like at least this part, like these latter ones, like this specific one, and I love it. I love it. I will play all of these from now on because it is big and dumb and awesome, and I have nothing more to say about it.
It was fun. It's for me. Here's my criticisms about it. Like this is not like I'm not campaigning to knock it down any spots or anything like that. I think like actually. What if we took Resident Evil Village and brought it down below Psychonauts 2 and pushed Psychonauts 2 and Returnal up 1 spot each? That would put Returnal at number 5, Justin.
No, I really would put Returnal at number 5.
I think Resident Evil Village is a very good Resident Evil game. I think it's fun as hell. I think it has one of my favorite moments of the year. We talked about this last time with the Benvenuto dollhouse. I think it's dumb in a lot of the right ways. I do think the last 2 or 3 hours of it are not as good as the first, 6 or 7 hours of it. I think it's a little uneven at the end.
You get to play as Chris, though.
You did play as Chris. I played as Chris so many times, Justin. I played as Chris so many times in so many Resident Evil games.
You get that, it is like catharsis when you have that machine gun and you're just mowing people down. It's and also, you get to get into a mech.
You do get into a mech, it's true. But the Moreau fish level and I don't really love the, I almost called him Fassbender. What the hell's his name?
Heisenberg.
The Heisenberg level, the actual level part of it, I don't love.
Fine, you sold me. Move it down, move the other 2 up.
Yeah, baby. I did it. So now that I was so magnanimous as to move Returnal to number 5, I think we need to discuss flipping Metroid Dread and Halo Infinite.
You could put Returnal at the bottom of the list. Halo is moving up, not down.
No, it's not moving up. Halo is as high as it's ever going to be.
Oh, no.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No, it's the best game of the year. It is the number 1 video game this year.
No way. No
way.
No way. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. This is the best game of the year. So here's what I'll say about my reason. You want to hear my negatives about Halo Infinite, right? I think let's talk about the two halves of the game, right? Let's talk about the campaign. All right. I think the campaign is good, is very good. I think it's very good. I think that the grappling hook is great. It transforms what Halo can be in the time where, especially in the open area of the game, where you can use it to sort of dictate where you are during battles and get around in fun ways and do things like, oh, you got to reach the highest point of this map, and it's not a slog to do it because you can just use the grappling hook to get up there. I think all that stuff is really, really good. But like, I think I liked the story, like the overall story of it. I liked. I thought it was fun. I thought it was satisfying as far as like the ending and what it was delivering. But I think a large chunk of that Halo campaign are those, especially the second half of it, are those classic sort of like corridor, Halo levels. And I think the level design and the engagements and encounters in those levels are, they're just fine. Like that's all they are. They're fine. I was propelled through it by the narrative that was going on, but I felt like when I was in those areas, the thing that was like special about the game was taken away from me, and I was forced to do good. The gunplay is good. I'm never going to say the gunplay isn't good, and I think the array of weapons is good, but there is nothing special about those levels in the game. They're just not. I don't think you'd even disagree with me that those levels, you wouldn't say those levels are special in any sort of way.
I think with the argument there is like, all right, so they took a classic. I don't think Halo is known for having like unbelievable level design. Like a lot of Halo is running around ships, or
a lot of it is
outside somewhere. So I think what the game does is blends the new with the old really well. Like, yeah, there is classic ass Halo there where you're running through corridors and you're shooting at bad guys and you're having close quarters combat in a lot of spaces. And then when you're done with that, you get to go do something that Halo's never done before, and you get to enter this semi-open world. And so it doesn't like throw out what worked for Halo before, but it also changes up the formula enough to where it's just like every time I come back out in the open world, I'm like, rad. Now I can go find all these other things that I've been like looking for. And like when I'm done with that, then it's like, okay, cool. I'm ready for my now classic Halo experience of running through corridors and going down and having those like hard fights in a small space.
Yeah, but I think the fact that I think saying like, oh, well, Halo's done this before, so they're doing it again. I'm not saying that intrinsically it's a bad idea to have corridor levels, but I think I think the amount of them in the second half of the game compared to what getting to do like the open world stuff is a bad balance. And then I think like, yes, getting around the open world is a ton of fun, but the level of there isn't a lot of variance in your activities in the open world. And that's the other thing against it for me. Like I enjoyed playing it, but in the end, like it's just like kind of 4 activities that you repeat over and over and over again. And that's it, and it is fun to get around the world and do stuff and fight for sure. I'm not disagreeing with that, but it felt like a game that, even though it was delayed for a while, it felt like it was still making compromises to get the game out the door. And while I enjoyed it, like I still think it's really, really good. And it's in my personal top 10. It's like my number 6 or 7 game of the year. Like I think so this is not me saying the game isn't great, but I feel like, and on the multiplayer side, like I can't speak to the depth and the breadth of the multiplayer as much because I probably put like, I don't know, 20 hours into it or something like that. Maybe a little less, 15 hours into it. I feel like, there's obviously the battle pass progression stuff that is a little bit, is not up. I don't think is top tier. The actual, gunplay is very good. Feels very good. They did a great job of the question we always ask, which was, how do you make Halo but in 2021? How do you make a game that feels like Halo and keeps the DNA of Halo but also feels modern? And they pulled it off. Like you'll get no arguments from me there that I think they definitely pulled it off. But I think like for me, like especially at launch, like the lack of like ability to sort of pick modes you wanted to play or take out modes you didn't want to play. I felt like what was a detriment to the game at launch. I'm not great at the game, but that's not a thing against the game. It's just that obviously hampered my enjoyment of the game. But I felt a little bit like I hit a wall quicker in Halo than I hit in some other shooters, I should say. So those are my dings against it. You wanted to hear them. You wanted to hear why it wasn't the best game of the year. So that those are the reasons why. That's the reasons I'm putting out there for it.
Fair. Okay. I mean, everyone's allowed to be wrong sometimes.
Okay.
We'll give you this runway to do it now. Look, I'm never getting Halo to the top of this list because I know that you would never go for it. No. It's my personal game of the year. It beats out Inscription, which I feel good about. It wasn't like a hard decision for me.
Halo boy over here.
Yeah, well, like I haven't been in a decade, or a Halo. The last Halo I was really into was Halo, maybe Reach.
Oh, you loved 4. You said 4 was the best Halo game ever made, or whatever.
I like the campaign in 4 a lot, but ask me how much multiplayer I got to play, which is like almost none. I can find almost no fault with the game. The narrative.
How's loading into Big Team Battle going, Justin?
Fixed now. And sure, are we going to ding things for like, oh yeah, like the multiplayer servers got a little wrecked there? Yeah, it did, but they fixed it, and we move. Like most multiplayer games have some sort of issue plaguing them in some form or another. They do. So I mean, we could nitpick and say like, oh well,
we're nitpicking. That's all we're gonna do now is nitpick at this point.
I think if we're gonna talk about like battle pass progression is completely overstated. Like I am nearly level 100, and that a lot of that isn't just the fact that how much time I put into it. It is completely the way they've overhauled it is you can get multiple levels a day easily, which is what more than other games do.
Okay, but let me just ask you though, like, and again, this is probably a personal preference thing. So this is the thing for me is like, even when I look at that battle pass, like none of the things in it am I like, I want to get to this, Also, you're a personal preference thing. Yeah. You're at a level 100 now, Justin, or you're going to level 100 soon. You're going to max on the battle pass soon. You still have 3 months before the season's over.
It's fine.
So what now?
I keep doing the weekly challenges and do stuff that they unlocked, or I engage with the store that they have, and like this is a whole other discussion.
Engage with the store. Finally doing.
So hey, like
that's a hell of a way to say buy something.
I'm gonna buy stuff.
It's a very corporate ass way to say buy something.
Listen, I will say, look, what I think they're gonna do the thing that we wanted Apex to do, and we want other things to do, right? Where it's like experiment with making things incredibly cheap. And that's what they've done. They're like, oh, this is $3. Whereas before, when it first came out, there was a definite issue because they were like, this is $10. But with us, with Apex or Fortnite, it's just always like, make it cheap and I'll buy everything instead of it being like, in Apex, it's expensive and I'll buy one every 3 months.
Yeah.
So like, I think I want to see the way that plays out, right? But I mean, that is such a side thing that it's not even really worth even discussing. But like, everything about that game is top notch. Like, you don't like running through corridors. You find that to be,
No, I don't mind. I don't mind doing a corridor shooter, but I'm just saying, like, it just felt like it was a lot of times at the same level over and over again. That's all I mean. Like, it was like, okay, I'm gonna go into this level and it's gonna look pretty much the same as the last one I did, and I'm gonna have pretty much the same sort of like enemy encounters happening in this level. And even inside levels, I'm like, okay, now I finished this room. Now I'm gonna go to like almost the exact same room again and do it all over again. And it just felt like that part of it, like the repetition of it, and the fact that there wasn't like a lot of variety once you were even between like the way the levels looked was the part that I didn't love, right?
Is there really that much variety in Metroid's levels?
No, there's not. No, I mean there is. I mean there are definitely different biomes. Like word of the year.
There are word of the year biomes.
There's underwater stuff. There's like that level where it's like you're in like the city and it's all destroyed and you're working through it. There's like the more like wildlife section where you've got like it's more overgrown. Like there definitely is like a variance to the way those levels look. You know,
there is some, but there are other levels that look kind of similar to the level that you were in before. We're jumping around, but.
Yeah, we're gonna do that. We're kind of this is the discussion that we're having right now.
Dread.
I mean, we haven't talked about Dread yet, so I want to talk about it. Like I want us to have a discussion about it. I want to get your because we haven't talked. I haven't talked with you about Metroid Dread since you beat it basically like however many months ago. So we really haven't a discussion. You still haven't given me the game back. You still have my copy of it somewhere.
I still have your copy.
I gotta get back in and play that one hit mode they put out, Justin.
I know.
Which seems like an absolute nightmare. So why don't you tell me why you don't think Dread deserves to go any higher? Just tell me why.
And I think.
Tell me why.
I'll tell you why. I think it's a very good. It's so hard not to say Metroidvania, but like. It's definitely not my favorite one of those I've played this year. It's up there, like it's good, but it's not like it's a move forward in this space, right? I hate the fact that they block off progress from you. The game is more linear than you think, and yet it is still so easy to get lost in that game. It is so easy to not know what your next objective is. They do not explain that stuff well enough. And like the last thing that I want to do when I get a new ability is be like, I want to, me personally, and this is subjective, is I want to go back to the level that I previously played and unlock the stuff that I kind of lock. That's the way I choose to play those games. And the game does not let you do that. Like it is frustrating to be like, all right, I'm going to run back this way. Oh no, this door is now blocked. And let me go, oh no, this door is also blocked. And this door is blocked. And it's like, all right, well, where am I supposed to go? And you have to like, a lot of it was me either looking at a guide to be like, I got this ability. Where the hell am I supposed to go? And I would get there and like, this is not me saying it's a bad video game by any stretch of the imagination. It's in my top 10 list. As many issues as I have at it, I think it's number 8 on my list. There are issues with that game. There are like,
it's not a perfect game.
It is frustrating. No, it's not a perfect game. And it is frustrating to get an ability and be like, all right, cool, I'm going to stop here. And I pick up the game 2 days later and it's just like, all right, now where was I supposed to go from here? And then running all the way backwards and be like, nope, it's not here. And it's not here either. And it's not here. All right, I guess I'm just going to keep pushing at stuff until I figure it out. And like, at a certain point, there are hidden blocks there that you have to destroy, right? You have to like, and that is a staple from previous Metroid games is you got to shoot at this wall to get through it. And you didn't know that you can go through this. And I don't care. That is not fun. That is not fun in a game where it is so easy to get lost. The map does tell you. The map tells you that there's blocks there. Yes.
Like I totally agree with you on some of the points you're making. I'm disagreeing with some of the points you're making. I think, but I think that the game's map does give you like more direction than you're giving it credit for. I got lost a couple times. I'm not gonna say I didn't get lost a couple times. I absolutely did. But I think that like those I think some of those frustrations come from, and this is for me too, like this is not saying that I knew these intrinsically, come from the game signposting things in ways that is not the typical video game way to signpost them. I think that happens for sure in that game. And I'm not going to disagree with you on that in any way. But like, I think that you spoke about like the way that Returnal and Halo Infinite feels to play, and I love the way Metroid Dread feels to play. The way she moves, the way she fights, the way that she that counter is so satisfying. And we talked about last week when you kind of get the space jump and you're able to all of a sudden like by the time you get to the end of that game, you can backtrack across the level in like seconds almost, because you're running at like Mach 3 and then you're jumping 200 feet in the air in one jump. And I love the way that feels. I think it's, when we were talking about Unsighted, I mentioned like, I don't care. Like, I don't mind stress, as long as it's meted out by other things. And I really enjoyed, for the most part, the stress that Metroid Dread presented, both with the Emmys most of the time, and then also just with how hard some of those bosses are and how much it's just like, you need to learn these patterns. Like, I love the fact that you start with a boss and be like, I don't know, I'm going to beat this thing. And by the time you finished it, a lot of times it'd be like, I didn't even get touched, basically, when I finished this boss. And I loved that really progression loop of it so much. I really like the way it looks. I like the 2D on 3D thing that it's doing. I like the vibes of it a tremendous amount. And I also, love, we talked about last week, the portrayal of Samus and how she is portrayed in that game and the way things move. And I love how fucking weird and bonkers the ending is, with her. I love all that stuff about it. I know this is kind of like a deadlock for us right now in this thing, and just by pure dumb fucking luck, Halo Infinite is above it. Luck, perhaps. Maybe there was some subterfuge going on when I wasn't looking.
Oh, come on. Like, you're the guy that moved them around. It's not like I have any power. I do have power.
You do have power. You could do it on your own.
I just realized that now.
That we're even talking about, one belongs on with the other, because who knows what this list would have looked like if it had been ordered a different way. But these fights are tough. We're getting to this point. These fights are tough because I also think Halo Infinite is a really good game, and I liked it a lot. Like, it's on my top 10 list, so I don't have a ton negative to say about it. You know what I mean? It's not like I have a ton negative to say about Halo Infinite, because I really enjoyed it. But I love the propulsion of Metroid Dread. But the other thing part of it too is, like, again, it's something about doing these lists is that, like, Halo Infinite has two pillars that it needs to, like, deliver on, that I can poke at, right? It has its single player and has multiplayer, and those, the games have holes and they have problems, and the more stuff you have in your game, the easier it is to find holes and poke at things. So I know it's tough in that way. So if it was me, I would flip Metroid Dread and Halo Infinite. And just speaking from a personal perspective, and this does not count for where it ranks on this list. Just for our shared list. It's been really tough for Metroid fans for the last, I don't know, decade or so. Really tough. Like, there is not, forget about, there's been like middling Metroid games. There's been no Metroid games, no new Metroid games in a very, very, very long time. And for them to put out one and it be as...
Did the last Metroid game come out when the last Halo game came out, both in 2015?
No. Well, you're talking about
Samus Returns?
Yeah, but that's a remake of the second game. So I'm talking about an new original game. It came out the year after that. It came out 2016 is when Samus Returns came out, or 2017. But that's a remake of a game. I'm talking about like the last new Metroid game that came out before this game was Other M. So like it's been a long time since we've gotten one, even longer since a new purely 2D Metroid game had come out. So as a Metroid fan, as someone who's loved this series for a very, very long time, it was just really amazing to have this game come out and be as good as it was, for it to come out this year and for me playing it. And like, I think sometimes I again, we'll talk about the ways that we're similar, we were opposite. We're opposite in the way of like, when you get an inkling that a game you want to be good is good, you are like all in kamikaze on it, right? You are like, I love this. I am in my bliss. Like, this is the greatest thing I've ever played. You know, like 2 hours in, you know, or whatever. And for me, like when I was playing Metroid, and you could reflect it in like the text that I sent to you, I was like keeping myself very reserved about it. Like I was like, this is good so far, but I need to, let's see what happens over the length of it. Let's see what happens when I think about it. Like, am I just liking this because am I just loving this because it's so cool to see Samus doing cool shit, or am I actually enjoying, you know, this as a video game? You know what I mean? Like, so like, I have a much more reserved take on how I get into these games in this way, and games that I was highly anticipating when they actually hit, I should say, and it delivered on all those ways for me, you know, and you know, it's not my number one game of the year because, like you said, there are some issues that I had with it as well, but when I think about overall experience of the game, it was such a great experience for me. And I had so many like, oh, yes, like, fuck, that's so cool. I love this moments when I was playing it, that it just rose it up very, very high on my list for me. But no, what are you doing? What are you doing? No.
I'm doing things.
No, absolutely not.
You accused me of this before.
Yeah, and I'm accusing it. No, absolutely not.
Look at this.
No.
Halo goes to 2.
No.
Metroid goes to 3. Psychonauts moves to 5. Is that 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. Returnal goes down a spot.
No.
You would have put Guardians of the Galaxy at number 2?
For our shared list, yes. I would put it at number 2.
The both of us literally put it as number 5. Both of us on our own list put it at number 5. Explain to me how that goes to 2.
Because we both, Justin, there have been years where our shared number 5 game was the number 1 game of the year. So it just so happens that this year we have Inscription is very close on our list, so it's hovering up there. But like, I don't think you would argue. I don't think you would argue with me if I put Metroid there. If I put Metroid there, you'd be like, "Oh, this is a good list." No, yeah, sure, this is good. This is good. Because I would want Guardians above Halo.
Oh my god, you're unreasonable.
You reordered this list without any input from me. You just started reordering it when we were this high up.
Because you accused me of doing it before, so I took a crack at it. I moved some things around. So two of your games are in the top 5.
I know, but you're not gonna get me by sneaking Halo Infinite up to number 2, Justin.
It's the second best game of the year. If it can't be the first, it's definitely.
Although
the second.
I want Psychonauts 2 at number 2.
No.
And then I'll move Returnal to number 4.
Yeah, but I don't think Psychonauts is a good game. At least I know Metroid's a good game.
We're talking about personal preference here, my friend. All right? No, this is the crazy list. No.
This is a great list. I don't know what's
No.
I honestly do not see what's wrong with this list.
Because your number 1 game is at number 2, right? And my number 2 game is at number 5.
Okay, so then flip Psychonauts and Dread.
You just said you wouldn't do that because you.
If it makes you happy. Because Andy asks, why is Returnal on the list at all? Because it's a great game, Andy.
Justin loves Returnal a lot. Psychonauts 2 and Returnal are like hand in hand. These 2 games are like. Justin loves one of them. I love the other one, so they get onto the list. I'm surprised either one of them are this high on this list right now.
What? Which 2?
Our two we love these games, so they're on here.
Mark's mad in chat. He says Halo's overrated. He's only mad because he dies a lot. It's weird. He's on a keyboard and mouse too. It's embarrassing.
I would agree with you.
Back to the list.
Its placement on this list, Mark, Halo is overrated for where it is on this list.
Absolutely not.
Where it is on this list.
Okay, the chat is getting out of control.
We've been
Andy,
compromising all night. Justin is the one who just threw out the compromise and pushed his game to number 2 on the list.
You got two of your games in the top 5, and you're mad about it.
Yeah, but you took the number 2 spot. Just with no talk.
Oh, it's not like I'm trying to move Returnal to number 2, which is a game that you really didn't get to play. Halo is great. It's a great video game.
It is a great video game. I'm not arguing with you on that, but
I can't put Guardians of the Galaxy, which we both were like, it's about the 5th best game of the year, and move it to 2. I just can't do it.
Halo's like my 7th or 8th best game of the year, so why does it go to number 2?
I make a compelling argument.
It would make much more sense for our shared number 5 game to be high on the list than our game that we're separated by 5 or 6 slots on, Justin.
We're not doing the giant bomb thing where it's just like, we almost cut this game and it accidentally won game of the year. No, we're not doing that. We will.
No, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Hash this out.
All we've done is talk about how much we've loved Guardians of the Galaxy for both of these podcasts.
I agree. I really do. But the both of us are like, yeah, it's like if you had said to me, it's my number 2, and I was like, well, it's number 6. Like, I could come around to it. But the both of us were like, 5 is right for that game. I can't take our 5th best game and just like be like, well, for the sake of compromise, we're gonna shove this to 2. If you want, flip Psychonauts and Dread. Then your number 2 is in the 3rd spot, and your number 4 is in the 5th spot. I told you I wouldn't go after Psychonauts. At the very beginning of this discussion, when we got into the top 10, I was like, I'm not telling you Psychonauts needs to be near the bottom. I know how much you like it.
I know that. I haven't gone after any of your games. I was like, make Halo number 4.
Sure, make my number 2 number 4. No problem. No, make my number 1 number 4. Sorry.
Okay, let's see here. So I guess this is a very visual argument that we just had. I want everyone to know listening at home. The reason I was freaking out was because Justin, when I wasn't looking, moved Halo Infinite from I guess it was from 3 to 2.
A giant leap.
It is a big leap. It is a big leap when you're at this part. Yes, 3 to 2 is a big leap when you get that high on the list. All right, it's not like 7 and 8. You know, it has more weight than that. Moved Halo Infinite from 3 to 2. Moved Guardians from 2 to 4, and moved Psychonauts 2 up to 5. So right now our list,
6.
right now our list is Death's Door, Emily is Away 3, Unpacking, Resident Evil Village, Returnal, Psychonauts 2, Guardians of the Galaxy, Metroid Dread, Halo Infinite, and Inscription. Right now that's our top 10 list. Let's see.
Your passion for Psychonauts is great. If you want to flip and you want to put Psychonauts at 3, go for it.
Okay, I will stop my fight for Infinite being number 2, not being number 2. If I can move Psychonauts here, and followed by Dread and then Guardians.
Fine. Would you look at that? Guardians of the Galaxy, the 5th best game of the year. Almost like I said that 2 hours ago.
It wasn't 2 hours ago.
It feels like it.
So we should talk about. This has never happened. This has never happened before. Never has our number 1 game gone without any conversation.
Well, look, I wouldn't have put it at 1, but I know for us this year, Inscription is our number 1 game of the year. It's an incredible video game.
I'm gonna play that part of the stream where you say this is may not be the best game of the year, might be one of the best games of all time. You said about Inscription.
I didn't say that. I said something like it might be game of the year.
Yeah. We've talked on this list about games that do things that only video games can do. And I think that Inscription is one of those type of games where it so blends its mechanics with its narrative, that the two are kind of inseparable from each other. And I think the truly great thing about Inscription is that, a lot of games that hold a lot of secrets and pull a lot of tricks on you, right, and pull a lot of twists on you, the game part is secondary, right? Like, I think a big one thing about here, I mean, I haven't played any other of Daniel Mullen's games, and I understand that his other games do similar things in some ways. But let's even talk about something like, Justin, did you ever play Frog Fractions back in the day?
No, but okay. I know what it is.
So Frog Fractions was this game that, and if people, I'm not going to spoil it so much, but Frog Fractions, because if you haven't played it, people out there play it, you should play it, because it's an amazing experience. But Frog Fractions is one of these type of things where it looks like one thing on the face and then morphs into another thing. The actual mechanics of Frog Fractions are not anything to write home about, right? It's almost like the game part of it is something you do, like, to get to the twists, right? And get to the things that happen in it. And Inscription could have been a really entertaining and memorable game if it just rode on its back of its like gimmicks and its crazy things that it does. It would have been a talked about game. It might have even been a top 10 game, right? If it had just done those things. But the thing that makes Inscription truly special is that the mechanical part of the game, the card game part of the game, is incredibly fun and very satisfying, and does the thing. It's so funny because I think when I first started playing Inscription, and I was still in the first couple hours of it, we talked about it on the show, and I talked about the roguelike elements of it, and I was like, I wish that these games would just like, ones that have story in them would just like make it easy for you at a certain point to progress so you could see all the story, and if you wanted to go back and just kind of keep running at it, you could, but if you really wanted to see the story, it would kind of push you through. And that is exactly what Inscription does. At a certain point, it gives you things that go like, this is going to kind of break the balance of this game, but goddamn, is it going to be fun. Like, you're going to be able to do the craziest shit, and all the things that seem like impossible to you at the beginning are going to be you're going to be steamrolling, and all of a sudden you're going to be like doing over damage, and you're going to be like, I can combine this with this, with this, with this, and do this. And that's all just in that first cabin area, the first act of the game. And when the game then shows you what it actually is, I was like floored. And then it does it 2 more times, yeah. where you're like, what is this game, and how is it containing all of these things? It has some of like the most interesting boss fights in a game I think ever. Like, there's the last couple of boss fights in the third act are like all timers. They are all timer like boss encounters in a game. So clever, so interesting, and the game is meta, but it doesn't get overly meta. And I think it tells an engaging story. I think it has cool characters. And then there's this thing at the end of the game where the game goes, oh, here are like, and this is slight spoilers for Inscription. I'm not gonna say any details, but these are slight spoilers for Inscription, for the ending of Inscription. I'm not gonna say any details, but I'm gonna give kind of like thematic stuff. Goes, oh, here you've been playing these two games. Here's 3 other games, 3 other card battling systems that you've never seen before that now you can play. And it's just like, you're like, what? I don't even understand how this game spent all this time doing this stuff. Truly a unique experience, and one that there's been no game in recent time that I have just told, I've told people like, just play it. I don't care if you don't like card games, just play it. Just play it. Yeah. Just play it. It is that ultimate game. And yes, all hail the Ouroboros. That is correct. People are talking about the Ouroboros card. What an amazing card.
Incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, you could watch my real-time not watch, but you can listen to my real-time reactions of playing that game.
Yeah.
In a couple of different videos.
Yeah.
you can hear my frustration at the third act. And then you can see hear my just glee when I'm fighting those bosses and creating those cards and just having those moments. It's an incredible experience, and everything that Bobby said is totally right. And we've sung its praises since the day that we played it. And so many of those moments are just like, ooh, well, we can't really talk about it because we don't want to spoil what it is. And I still don't want to spoil what it is, because it's one of those like truly special experiences that come around every couple of years.
Yeah.
So Inscription is just filled with those moments of just like, wow, I can't believe a video game is actually doing this. Like, that's really cool. Why don't more games do this type of stuff? And it really does.
Yeah. And the vibes are immaculate in that game.
They really are,
for sure. If you want to watch, there's 5 hours of Justin playing the end of that game. And you will see why a lot of Justin's frustration comes from his own play style.
Gotta go fast.
He's like Sonic the Hedgehog.
Call me Sonic, baby. Yeah. Let's just go. Gotta go fast.
Loves chili dogs and going fast.
Hi, Megs.
Megs is here. I mean, it's definitely a shorter stream, Megs. It's only
shorter than the last time.
Yeah. It's only been going for 3 hours. Not
Jesus Christ.
Not 4 hours. And we're wrapping it up. We're basically there. Quickly about, we didn't really talk very much about Guardians tonight either. Let's quickly talk about it, because it is our number 5 on this list. And let's talk about a game that
didn't see coming.
That you and I sitting there before it came out being like, I wonder what reviews are going to say. If they say it's like good, like I'll pull the trigger, I'll get it. Like if people just say it's good, like, it's a fun Marvel story, like I'll get it, and I'll play it, and I'll see it through. And in just about every way, other than the combat part of it, the combat's fine. The combat's not bad, but it's just
serviceable.
It's serviceable. It's fine. It never gets in the way, right? But it's not a standout. It has some interesting ideas, but it's not a standout. The storytelling in Guardians of the Galaxy is so good. It is we've talked about this before, but it is on those levels of like Insomniac Spider-Man, or Naughty Dog, like Uncharted type of stuff. Like, it is on that level, and the character work, the voice acting, the facial animations
yeah,
are just unbelievable, and it really makes you care about these characters as if they are new characters. Or not, you are freed from the baggage. This is what Avengers could never do, right? The Avengers game never did, which was it never really freed itself from the comparisons to the movie versions of the characters, and I think Guardians does that unbelievably well. Like, it places itself in that this can exist alongside these other versions of the characters, just like the comic book stuff can do. And we talked about Gamora's arc, last week. It's amazing, but all of the characters have, satisfying stories, and there is choice in it too. That actually, when I was doing the choices in the game, I was like, this probably doesn't matter. Like, it probably all like all the interactions go the same way anyway. Like, Rocket's always gonna leave, or whatever. But apparently that stuff makes a difference. Like, what you choose there in those choices make a difference for those moments in the game. And I'm really impressed by that. We mentioned some of these characters last week, but Mantis, Cosmo, those side characters are great. There's a couple of side characters I don't want to mention because it's kind of a spoiler. If you haven't played it, I don't want to get into spoilers on it.
And please, if you haven't played it, so we can get a sequel, I beg you.
Yeah. I think it's on sale right now, Peach. I don't know what it's on sale on, but I know it's on sale right now. Guardians of the Galaxy. She's mentioning that she wants to buy it when it goes on sale. All of that stuff is just top notch, and the themes that it's working with, I'm just so surprised by how much depth there was to the thematic work, and I was very surprised by that. Like, it deals with some real aspects of trauma and what we want and nostalgia and the way it can manipulate us in ways which I thought was really clever and I didn't expect from the game. So there's a reason why it's number 5 on both the Justin and I list. It's a great game. It's a great game. I don't think they're gonna get to make a sequel, but I really hope they do get to make a sequel.
Me too. Guardians of the Galaxy currently on sale for $60 on Steam. So
okay,
not really on sale.
Not really on sale.
It's on sale. It's on sale on consoles all the
time. Oh, okay. I knew it was on sale on like PlayStation or something like that. I thought I saw it pop up.
It's like $29 on PlayStation.
Okay. You can always, Alejandro mentions Giant Bomb in the chat and Jan fighting for Guardians of the Galaxy. You can always mention Giant Bomb in our chat.
Bobby and I first really bonded over.
Yeah. All right. So I think this is our top 10 list, Justin. Well, let's read it out once, see how we feel about it, see if there's anything we want to change last second. Our number 10 game of the year is Death's Door. Our number 9 game, Emily is Away 3. Our number 8 game, Unpacking. That wins. I said Emily is Away 3. Number 8 game, Unpacking. Number 7, Resident Evil Village. Number 6, Returnal. Number 5, Guardians of the Galaxy. Number 4, Psychonauts. No, sorry, 4, Metroid Dread. Number 3, Psychonauts 2. Number 2, Halo Infinite. And your 2021 Miss Adventureland Game of the Year, Inscription.
We did it.
We did it. Another year.
What was that, 7 hours of Game of the Year podcast?
It was.
For your listening pleasure?
Yes, 7 hours.
Way more than we've ever done before.
I think we did around that much when we did like that 1 year when it was all of us, but we split it up. We recorded all in one clump and then we split it up into different episodes. And we didn't do it this time because we're doing it live, so it doesn't make as much sense to split it up. Yeah, so that's our top 10 list for the year. I gotta put this into that spreadsheet that I created for us with all our top 10s.
I really want to rank all the top 10s.
We'll do that. We should do that for sure.
I really want to do that.
We will do that for sure. Yeah, that's our 10 game our top 10 games of the year. We our almost makes it. We're Deathloop, Hitman 3, Wildermyth, It Takes Two, Chicory, and Life is Strange: True Colors. Those were our almost makes it. Those were our on the reserve list in case we decided that we wanted to replace something.
What happened to the listener voting? Chat.
It's not done yet. I have to put up the last round of it up so people can vote for it. So that's coming your way probably in the next couple days. I'm trying to let people have time to vote for it. So it'll go up. Don't worry. All right. My phone is dying. It's dead. My phone is dead. So that's going to do it, I guess, for our show. No new podcast next week. We'll do one the week after. Next week, look for some sort of gaming video from the two of us. Probably Justin playing Hitman. I have that one sitting in the bullpen, ready to come out for a day where we didn't have any content. So look out for that. Please make sure to like the video if you're watching this on YouTube, or watching it live, or the archive. Please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, ring that bell. Really, really helps so much. Even if you're not gonna watch the whole video, drop a like and you can peace out. But please drop that like and share it with people if you think they would like it. Please rate us on your podcasting service of choice. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get podcasts. If they have a rating system, please rate us. You can go to misadventure.land, which is our YouTube channel, where you can find everything that we do there. And you can be involved in these live podcasts and stuff like that. And also like the videos that we premiere on there. I try to be in chat when I premiere those videos. Okay. But I think that's going to do it for this week. Until next time. Thank you, Justin.
Thank you, Bobby.
And thank you to everybody who's watching and listening. Until next time, be good to one another. Later.
These two great friends agree a lot, but when they don't, then the shit gets hot. Though there's C+ in their gameplay, their commentary gets an A.